Don't forget to like this video if you like it, click subscribe, click notifications for future contents, and don't forget to share it with a friend. Don't forget to like this video if you like it, click subscribe, click notifications for future contents, and don't forget to share it with a friend.
Shalom, shalom, greetings, blessings, everyone, blessings, greetings, glad to be here, glad to have you. Welcome to Masculinity Monday. I am your host, Mike Allen here, digging in the word, and this is our Masculinity Monday show. We have a special show for you guys tonight, and I'm excited, anticipating it. Many of you checked out the link, you looked at the description, and if you don't know by now, you're about to find out who we have here with us tonight. And I'm gonna bring my brother Jeremy on with me and our brother Noah. Shalom, brothers, blessing. Good to see you guys. Welcome.
Blessings, brothers.
Shalom, brothers.
Shalom.
How's it going?
Shalom.
Bishop, pastor. How's your day been?
What's going on, man? What's up? What's happening? How's everything? How's the week starting off for you guys?
Brother Mike, you got Shabbat morning on your background.
I do?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Hey, it's okay.
Right,
brother Mike is just trying to give us extra peace.
Yeah.
On this Masculinity Monday tonight. So
but maybe I was checking to see if anybody was noticing. Right?
Is anyone paying attention?
Testing background. 1 2 1 2. Yeah.
Hey, background's perfect.
Background's good.
Yeah, background's perfect.
Do I have the proper scenery, the logo in the back? Yeah.
Looking fresh.
All right. Thanks. Yeah. So what's going on? What's happening, Brother Jay?
Nothing much, man. Loving God, loving y'all. Talking to some brothers today. Prayed with some brothers last night.
Nice.
I love the community, man. I absolutely love the community.
Yes. It's nothing like it, man. It's nothing like it. We were not made to be to ourselves.
That's 100%.
Yeah, we were not made to be ourselves, and the fulfillment is that when you can get amongst community, which in turn becomes family, it's even more great, right? It's wonderful.
It's coming. I'm gonna tell y'all, it's coming. Community's coming. But man, in preparation for tonight, blessed, man. Love the videos, love the information.
Yes.
How about yourself, bro? How about yourself, Bishop Allen? How's your day been? You enjoy the rest of your Shabbat?
Yes, I did. I enjoyed it. Little one. What did we do? Wow, what did we do? I can't even remember. All I know is that it was good. I did get some rest. We had a good stream, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a blessed stream, right? To be continued, right? To be continued.
Yeah, part 2 coming.
Yeah, those of you who did not see this past Shabbat morning Bible day, we had a great new episode. It seems like every time we come up with something kind of heavy, it tends to become a sequel to it and a series, right? So yeah, but no, we had a good time, man. We were talking. What's the subject? We were talking about.
It was a spiritual larceny.
Spiritual larceny. Yes, that is spiritual theft. Stealing the glory from the one that it should only belong and go to, right? And that's the Most High, y'all, right? So in so many ways we find that not just women, because the title does include women, right? But it's really pertaining to everyone. You know? In our relationship with him, we take on the effeminate, right? We take on the effeminate role within this union. And we have a duty to him. We have a duty to our creator, and that is to yield ourselves, render ourselves to him, serve him, right? Give glory to him, but not seek to steal that glory. And so that's what sin does. Sin tempts us to try to steal some of that that glory to ourselves in some sort of klepto way, right?
Right. So,
So
some double-minded way, right?
double-minded, right? You know, sticky fingers, right? Got sticky finger worship, right? but we got a show tonight. And I'm excited. And once again, I want to welcome everyone to Masculinity Mondays. And as a reminder, for those of you who are here probably for the first time, we definitely want you to, if you like this content, what we're going to talk about this tonight, definitely the guest that we have here tonight. You know, I'm going to introduce him on when I finish with this particular tab, but he's going to give us some information. We're going to be able to ask questions. We're going to be able to pull from his knowledge, his wisdom, his experience in this realm of biblical polygyny, patriarchy. And so if you like this content tonight, we ask that you do like it. Subscribe if you've never subscribed to the channel, and then definitely leave a comment, question, disagreement. But the only thing we ask that you be respectful and don't keep the love to yourself. Share the link to someone else. If you get value from out of this, from our guests tonight, if you get value from what we talk about, what's discussed tonight, what's laid out, definitely don't keep that love to yourself. Share the link with somebody else. Share it to your friends. I'm sure you have someone that you care about, that you want to have this information just as you received it. So definitely do that. So now it's time to introduce our guest. But before we do that, we got some more comments. I can't forget the comments, right? Right, Brother Jay?
Ooh. Oh, wow. Yeah.
We got.
I wasn't even paying attention to these comments, man. I'm like, wow.
We got some folks in the chat room, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
All right. So this was previously, I think it was last night. SWR says, I've been looking for this brother. Talking about our guest tonight. He's been looking for this brother, right? And he says respectfully, well, you're gonna see him tonight, right?
Yes, sir.
And definitely on the end of the show, we definitely going to he's gonna be able to give you a way in how you can get in contact with him, you know, maybe via email or what have you, his channel. And we can post a link up definitely towards the end of the show. And yeah, my man Aki Manilow, shalom, brother. He says, ready for this? Shalom.
Shalom, brother Manilow.
And Survivor is in the house. Shalom.
Shalom.
Blessed to you. Thank you. And contrast with Sepia Prince, hail, blessings to you. Thank you for joining us. And SWR. All right. Shalom to all, he says. And then we have House of Styles tonight. Shalom to you. Blessings to you. Thank you. And Live Healthy Peach Bros, or Peace. I'm assuming is what he meant. Blessings to you. And Live Healthy says, Brother Solomon is the truth for real. And thank you for announcing him. Thank you for announcing him. So without any further ado, I want to let you know something about this particular brother. You know, there's not too many people that come up inside this this space of biblical patriarchy, polygyny, biblical masculinity, biblical family, right? That are in this space, are privy to this space. They have their ears in this space. They navigate through this space. They are absorbing content. They're creating content in this space that has not heard of this brother, that has not appreciated the value and the content and his addition and contribution to this particular space. This has truly been it's a privilege for me to be able to, you know, just have him here on the platform with us tonight. I had the privilege to meeting him back in about 2020 when I first released my first video. Now I had already started my channel in 2018, but I decided to go forth and teach on polygyny. And in doing so, you know, the video went viral. It took off, and I got a comment and a message from Brother Hondo, reached out to me, and we made the connection, and it went from there. And so we've been able to, you know, build, grow as brothers. Definitely, he has deposited a lot within me. So a lot of, pretty much most of what I know, what I've learned it from him, you know. And there's, you know, pretty much most of the content creators that are doing videos now, even authors that are writing books, they've learned from Hondo, you know. And so we definitely want to give him his credit, want to give him his flowers. You know, we want to acknowledge, want to give respect due to the brother, because as I attribute him as a legend and a pioneer, a living legend in this space. You know, you gotta acknowledge those who go before you, whose shoulders you stand on, and and give the respect that's due. And oftentimes, you know, you have brothers that come inside the space with the cockiness and the arrogancy or the agendas, and they don't acknowledge that, you know. And the thing about patriarchy that makes it work is that there's always, even though he's not an elder, I mean, I'm technically an elder to him in age, right? But you know, he's an elder in terms of this subject matter, you know, in that regard. And so to that, you know, I humbly learn a lot from the brother and continue to learn from him. And so I want to tell you a little bit about our guest tonight, our special guest tonight. Hondo Solomon is an ethnographer and an author specializing in primary research of world cultures and their manners and customs. His first book, The Polygamous Papers, which was released back in 2013, broke ground in outlining the application of polygamy in a modern, international, and cross-cultural context. His next book is Polygamy as Economic Warfare, and it debuts this coming February 2025. So without any further ado, without any more delay, let's bring the brother on. Shalom, shalom, brother Hondo. Blessings to you. Blessings.
Well, thanks for having me. You know, those are some kind words. I appreciate that, brother. I got to stick my chest out a little bit. You know, thank you very much. But I do want to say, even with the props that, and even some of the brothers who I see in the chat room, you know, I attribute a lot of my growth and development, especially over the last 10, 15 years, to them. You know, because having strong men around you, they fill in the gaps in your character. If you allow it, they fill in the gaps in your character. They allow you to come up. So where you were not only deficient, but you might have been a terrible man in a particular area, they come along and they just straight up tell you like, hey, this is what we're going to have to do to make sure that is no longer an issue, because if you allow it to go into the ground and flower, it's going to, you know, you're going to become a monster. Yes. So shout out to my brothers in the chat room who I've actually had the pleasure of meeting.
Yes.
And those who have just taken time out of their evening. We about to go in. This is gonna be pretty, you know. I'm actually excited to dialogue with everybody. Brother Mike knows I get amped when people are coming together to discuss how to engage in polygamy properly, because like Brother Mike said, I'm still growing as a man and as a human, and I have a love for humanity. So I want to make sure that I'm on point as, you know, as best as I can. And I want to make sure that I honor those who honor me as well. So thanks again, Brother Mike, or Brother Jeremy, Brother Noah, who's off.
He's off camera. He's got some things going on in the background.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Bless you, brother.
Yes.
Yeah. Bless you, Brother Solomon. Thank you for your work, man. Like I was introduced to you by actually, I think it was Brother Jan, and then Brother Mike mention you again, but you did an interview with Brother Pete Rambo, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And that's when I really looked at your channel, and man, bless you for your work and your encouragement, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you again. And thanks for having me also, Brother Mike. And
Yeah,
the rest of the
yeah.
panel.
No, it's an honor, man. It's an honor, man. It is an honor. I listen. It's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to have this moment here. We had the pandemic that happened, shortly after that. And a lot was going on, during that time. And so, years removed, you had your things going on, I had my things going on.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I think the right time is now, man. We're here. We're here. Thank the Most High. We're here. We're here. So, to start us off with a word of prayer, I'm going to ask Brother Noah if he'd be so kind to open us up with a word of prayer. And definitely, Brother Jeremy, if you could definitely feed the comments, and
I'll keep an eye on those for you.
yeah, I appreciate that. Appreciate that. All right. So, Brother Noah, please.
Yeah. Heavenly Abba, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the health, everyone to be here, and those viewing, those on the panel. We thank you for the gift and you allowing us the time to be able to sit down and have this interview with Brother Hondo Solomon. We thank you for instilling all the knowledge and wisdom and understanding into that brother so that he can be a light unto us and share it with everyone else. We ask that you will use this as edification and maybe help bring more people into the truth of your biblical marriage. We ask you in your son's name, Yeshua HaMashiach, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Brother Noah. Thank you for that prayer. Heartfelt prayer.
We got one from Master Hondo here, just giving the greetings from
Chief Yuya.
Chef Yuya.
Yeah. Shalom, Chief Yuya. Yeah, that's one of my good brothers right there.
Yeah.
Good man.
It's a heavy brother. I've seen his work.
Yes.
So he's a heavy brother. Yes.
Yeah, in person, he's a very forceful character in a very good way. So he's taught me a lot. I mean, I've watched his life as well. I've learned a lot about polygamy from him. So again, even with this subject matter, most of my friends are polygamous men, and those who only have one woman, they come from polygamous society. So I've been able to glean a lot from them, and Chief Yuya is one of them. So props to you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Nice. Good. So I guess we can get started. Now, this first question is kind of loaded that we have, and let me just say this, a little bit of invitation house rules, so to say. Definitely the panel has freedom to ask questions or interject, or when Brother Hondo's finished giving an answer, what have you. And if you want to press further, or if you got more questions that follow up, he may say something that may trigger a thought, and feel free to ask a question, because this is a shared interview. This is not just him and I having a dialogue. This is him having this is an elder in this space sitting down with the community, and we're feasting off of him. That's what we're doing here. He's feeding us tonight. So feel free to ask him questions and so forth, whatnot, as well as those of you who are in the chat, in the comment section. If you have a question, definitely respectful. You have a question, definitely, type in your question, and we'll do our best to try to get to your questions. And at some point, we know we're gonna probably have a number of people flooding them in at a certain time, but we'll try to do the best that we can. All right. So with the first one, Brother Hondo, first of all, we're gonna know what's your story. We want to know, where are you from? How did you end up in this particular space of biblical polygyny or polygamy or multiple marriage? Different people will term it different ways. Masculinity, patriarchy. What led you to be to this point, and wanting to becoming or filling the shoes of a teacher and an advocate for those in this space?
Oh, well, first of all, I have a saying that polygamy is not really about polygamy. Okay, it's not first about you having two or more women in your life, say an orbiter and then your wife or your girlfriend, or as some guys will say, just two women you're having sex with, you're dating. Before you even get to all that, it comes back to your upbringing. And Brother Mike, off camera yesterday, I believe we were discussing how your upbringing will feed and funnel how you interact with women and how you interact with the brothers at large. And I say the brothers because before you engage in polygamy, you need to have a strong brotherhood. These are men that you would die for. Okay. I can actually say I recognize one person in particular in the chat room. We've actually risked our lives to go save people before. So even though we knew each other 2 years before that, at that moment, that's when, we still talk about it to this day from time to time. That's the day that we knew we were bonded as brothers, because like, oh, well, just like that, you were just willing to team up and go, dive into a very, very dangerous situation and help to get other people out whom we didn't even know. While other people, there were thousands of people watching and no one did anything. So that's the type of thing men need to keep in mind. So going back to my childhood, my grandfather was like that. My grandfather, my father, I was my maternal grandfather. We were very close. And when I was in my mother's home, she taught me according to Apostolic Pentecostal doctrine in the Christian church. Once she and my father split, about a year later, she met a man who was, he owned a janitorial company, and he had a wife and 7 children, one of whom I went to college with when I was approximately 20 years old. She was a couple of years younger than me. Ended up seeing her. I was running across campus, sprinting across campus, and she called my name, and we caught back up. Well, my mother actually taught me that. Well, she showed me, she and her I guess her boyfriend at the time. I saw polygamy being laid out. I didn't see people fighting. I didn't see 2 women arguing. Although I guess they didn't necessarily like each other, but I saw them together all the time. They were very friendly toward each other. They were cordial, I should say. And going to my grandfather's home, he was always telling me that I need to understand the environment that I'm in. When I step into a room, when I step outside, when I will go to the park, he would ask me questions. I'm 6, 7 years old. He's like, son, what kind of animal is that? And I'm like, oh, I would identify that animal. So he bought me those. You remember those zoology cards that would have like the location of the animals, where they migrated, where they lived, their class, their phylum, their kingdom, their class, all that. He bought me, I had about 300-400 of those things, and I memorized all the animals. So people are already like, what does that have to do with polygamy? Well, my grandfather teaching me to absorb and to utilize knowledge, probably because he was an inventor. He fought in the Mariana and Gilbert Islands. He was part of the Montfort Point Marines, which is the first black regiment, I believe, in the Marines. And he was also a police chief. He risked his life on many occasions to save people's lives. And being around that type of energy, and my father was like the enforcer in the home. He always stayed around my grandparents. And the home was always peaceful when I saw these 2 men there. And them teaching me to be able to build bridges with people, because my paternal grandfather would always go visit my mother's side of the family. My elders on that side, he would just sit down and have coffee with them for 1 or 2 hours. We would go outside, walk the land, because both sides of my family owned a lot of acreage in Holly, Michigan. So these are things that I saw, for the better part of 25 years. I saw all of this. So this type of learning, my grandfather tested me, why is the sky blue? And, we didn't have Google, and I'm looking like, I'm like, Granddad, I'm 6 years old. What do you mean? Why are you asking me, why is the sky blue? I don't know, because it looks that way. He said, no. He said, I'm going to give you 2 days. He said, I want you to come back and tell me why that sky looks blue. He says, in fact, is it really blue, or does it just look blue from here? Does it look blue from outer space? He was just asking me these questions, and I'm like, I'm like, one day I guess I'll understand why he's asking me this. So I would have to go research. 6, 7 years old, I'm already doing research, scientific research, and I would have to come back and report to him. And he started training me even more in how to fix things. So my 2 cousins and I, one of them, he trained in combatives. My other cousin, he trained in mechanics. Me, he trained me in the natural sciences. And his wife, my grandmother, she was an educator for 30 years. So I was constantly surrounded by encyclopedias, books, and I learned how to read on a collegiate level at age 3. By the time I was 7 years old, I was already reading novels like Robert Ludlum and, Michael Crichton, who wrote Jurassic Park. I was already reading this stuff, and I could recall everything I read. So I had a quasi-photographic memory, and I was a prodigy in mathematics and in literature. So when my grandfather told me to understand what it is I'm looking at. He said, don't ever just walk outside and just say, oh, okay, I'm experienced, I'm going outside to play. He said, no, no, no. He said, you study what you hear, what you taste, what you see, what you smell. He said, what you touch. He said, you need to be able to explain absolutely everything. So my mother, when I would return home, my family raised me between Royal Oak Township and Detroit, Michigan. But I grew up in Rochester, Michigan. And when I would go home, my mother, me seeing her with her man, I saw them functioning. She worked for him for several years as his secretary, for his business. And I'm like, huh. And they never talked about polygamy. Nobody ever talked about it. I just saw it. So the things that a lot of us are struggling with now coming into the knowledge of polygamy, I never struggled with it. That's why when I say, well, I'll go back to this. I go back to this polygamy thing. Like I was 3 years old. Those are the earliest memories of me seeing it. And my father also had at least one other child. He had another son who's a year older than me. So I have at least one brother from my father who was also a polygamist. And it's in the blood, like father, like son. But what I saw was functional. I never saw two women fighting, even though they weren't friends. I said, huh. So by the time I started to get older, all these girls were always coming around me. And, I just thought they were friends of mine from high school. I'm like, whatever. And they were usually 2 to 3 years younger than me, right? So we're already starting to see this pattern of hypergamy, right? So one day, not one day, but one summer, in summer 95, I went to Germany to visit my two of my relatives. And I stayed there for over 2 months. And while I was there, my mother called me one day. And she said, son, and this is kind of a funny story. She said, son, she said, you need to come get your women. I said, what? What do you mean? Now she's back in Michigan and I'm in Germany. I'm like, what do you mean come get my women? She says, such as, I'll just say Samantha and Joan, just change the name. She said, well, Samantha and Joan came to the house today and she stopped. And I said, okay, they always come to the house. Everybody comes to my house in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. She said, son, you are so green. She said, you're going to really have to step up your knowledge. She said, you still don't understand what's going on, do you? I said, nah, because what was happening, it was normal for me to have women around already. Mm-hmm. While I'm still in high school. I'm like, what, you mean you don't have a bunch of girls hanging around you? Like, it was just like weird. Like by the time I was 30, 35, I'm like, wait, why do you only have one wife and no women whom you can call at a women just go out with? It was strange. So she says, well, when they came to the vestibule, I looked through the shades and they were about to kill each other. I said, about to kill each other for what? They know each other. She said, oh my gosh. She said, son, they like you. They're jealous. And they one lived across the street. She came over at the same time my neighbor came over, who also liked me. And she said they were shoulder to shoulder, actually pushing each other in the vestibule. And she opened the door and everybody respected my mom. So they're like, oh, sorry, ma'am. Sorry. We're looking for Hondo. And she's like, well, I thought he told y'all he's on a journey. He's on the other side of the world right now. So at any rate, they dispersed, but she had a talk with me when I got back. And she said, son, you're going to have to learn that you are probably going to end up with multiple women. Mm-hmm. I was like, what? Because I couldn't intellectualize it. I was putting the pieces together because it was so normal to have women around even at that age. And she said, look, you're going to have to learn that some women like the same man. And you're going to have to learn that. And you're going to get it one day, not now, she said, because you're too busy thinking these women your friends. She said, I've been to your school when 5, 6 girls around you. They like you for your wisdom. You act like you're a 40-year-old man and you're only 17. She said, trust me. She said, you ain't going to understand till you're old. I said, okay. I was like, whatever. Sometimes you think moms are just talking outside her head. Like, what are you talking about? So I said, all right, ma, cool. But that upbringing that I saw, it began to inform like who I was as a man, because I'm seeing it all around me. And then some of my friends, these other girls liked them while they had a girlfriend, but we were in the same friend group. Like, dang, like, why these girls fighting on the same? I still didn't understand. I'm like, why are they fighting on the same dude? Why don't they just have the same dude? You know? So at any rate, that was my upbringing. And it was very interesting because my mother used to speak on how my father had married her, but he had these other women. She said, I didn't like such and so, and I didn't like such and so. But my mom was very jealous. But she said, I really liked your father. He's a good looking man. And he was very charming. And he was a musician. He was a mechanic too. So, you know, work with your hands. You're a musician. You a drummer. Oh, you automatically got 10 women. That's right. That's right off the bat. so music and mechanics, it's all good. So I wanted to go play basketball. Like I actually wanted to go overseas and play basketball. I was, you know, in my opinion, I was a good player. So I wanted to go overseas, but I wasn't really taking life seriously except writing and reading. I loved writing, reading, and mathematics. But that's what it was. But polygamy was never explained to me. It was just something I saw. And one day my mom tells me, much later, I was about 30 years old. She says, I've always knew, even when you were like 2-3 years old, I always knew polygamy was biblical.
So it wasn't something that you initially pursued, but rather it was something that you discovered.
No, because I thought it was normal to have women around you. I'm like, well, why do I need to pursue something? And this is what clearly the way the way nature is, you know.
Right. But, so it's just natural, right?
But I did try to enforce monogamy on my own life, but I found it just felt weird. I'm like, and then I moved to Atlanta when I was 18 in the 90s.
Not Atlanta.
Oh no,
freak off central.
oh yes, and I'm Atlanta. I'm sort of like, oh wait a minute, this is nah. I was like, nah, man, I need to have another woman. So it was something I struggled because at the time, even in the Apostolic Pentecostal world, those of you who are familiar, a lot of these ministers in the Apostolic Pentecostal world had multiple women. Sometimes their other women would be sitting in the front pew every Sunday, and they wife knew the sister.
Yeah, it's usually covert, you know.
Well, in the Apostolic Pentecostal church, actually, it was not covert. I found it out later.
Really?
I started talking to people. It was like, nah, like we know the nurse at the church, that's also his other woman. I said, so I started to see it was normal. So my last example is this. One of my elders, the first church that my mother and I attended, Gethsemane Christian Church, that's over there off, I believe it's off Bagley Street in Pontiac, Michigan. We went here. That's where Pastor Simmons is Bishop Simmons now, who actually went full Hebraic on a brother about 10 years ago. He totally, his congregation is Hebraic. But there was a minister there, and Bishop Rutley pastors of Berea Family Worship Center in Pontiac, Michigan, even to this day. And he said, I saw him 4 years ago, and we're sitting in the back of his church. He said, yeah. He said, I remember your mother definitely was the second wife or girlfriend of such and so. I said, so you did know about that. Now remember, this is literally 40 years later. And I'm sitting in front of my elder. This man was the second father to me. I said this in another interview, I believe with Rob Kowalski. I said, so you could tell back then, because here's the situation. When I went to see him, because I had to drop off a rental car there, and it was a Sunday, and he allowed me to come in and come talk with him after he preached. And he said, so how have you been? I said, yeah, I went to the Philippines, been kicking it, with my ladies. And he said, Brother Hondo, how many wives do you have? I had never talked with him about polygamy ever. He said, and this was 2020. He said, how many wives do you have? I said, and I gave him the number. I never tell the number, but I gave him the number. And he said, he's a big man. He's like 6'2", he's about 300 pounds. He said, he said, I'm so proud of you, minister. I'm so proud of you. Said, that's great. I said, so you agree with polygamy? He said, minister, he said, all the patriarchs were polygamists. He said, but people in our Pentecostal world sometimes like to lie about the issue because they don't want to see it. He said, but our patriarchs were polygamists. I started cracking up. And his wife was there too. His sister brother was there. And I said, wow, that's amazing. He said, you keep doing well by your wives.
Hmm.
He said, I hope to hear nothing but good reports from you when I see you again. He said, you stay strong in the Lord.
That's blessed.
So I constantly find these people who help raise me who agree with the system. So anyway, I try to give these examples as I go along, but hopefully that gives a little bit of background.
No,
it's a great example.
definitely, it definitely tells us a lot about your story and how you really got here. Yeah, it's to me, it sounds like it was mapped out for you before you even, were even born. Like, like this was destiny. Yeah.
What's crazy is how common it is. Like there was nobody that freaked out about polygamy in your life that actually already knew about it and were really participating in it. Like you had me looking back at my family tree this weekend. I was like, wait a minute. My grandfathers were polygamous. My father was one. Well, actually is one. He just had another daughter. I was like, we are already doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, brother Jeremy, if I may say this about that, the entire family tree,
right?
Especially with Black Americans, a lot of people don't know this about Black Americans. Our previous generation, specifically, let's say our grandfathers, great-grandfathers, I call it the family down the street phenomenon. We've been Black men have been engaged in polygamy. All these other cats coming in talking, oh man, that's so nah, man. Go talk to your grandfather and your great-grandfather. Ask them how many families they got.
Yes.
Yep.
So that's definitely my story as well. Like my on my mother's side, like her father was a hustler, and in Charleston, South Carolina, he was a hustler. He owned like a different night establishments, like gambling hall, hotels, inns, and this is during segregated South era in South Carolina. And he, in one of his businesses, he was a married man. One of his businesses, he actually employed my great grandmother, my grandmother, whom he connected and had a relationship with, and I would label it as a concubine. They didn't call it that, but based on my understanding of polygyny, she was actually his concubine because he was married, and so he lived right down the street from them, and he and my grandmother had 9 children, and so and that's the thing. They didn't call it polygyny, but needless to say, he fathered all of these children. And not only that, he took care of the family because my great grandmother worked in his business. My aunt worked inside of his business. And but I guess it was just polygyny of another name, but it existed.
Well, they used, Brother Mike, in those generations, and some of us who are older, sometimes it was our father's generation. But they used 3 economic strategies to pull this off. Now remember, these are specifically Black men doing this with, say, other groups of people. Like, for example, I was a golf caddy, so I saw this in the white blue blood community all the time. I mean, we'll get into that later, but I got stories from them too. But with American Black men and indigenous American men, what they would use is utilize the 3 economic strategies. One, they would own businesses like your grandfather. You said, correct?
Right.
And sometimes those businesses were kind of below the radar. They were under the table, like some of the ones you mentioned.
Right.
They would also engage in skilled trades that were very high paying at the time. Okay. They would also locate the women in different places. So that's why you would have literally a family down the street. You got 5 children with them, 4 children, in the house that you stay in most of the time.
Right.
Also, like in one example that I heard of, there was a woman telling me the story of her grandfather, where he was a train conductor. Okay, he would go. Well, actually, he was a trains engineer. My apologies. He drove the train. So he would come in from Kentucky and go back to Georgia, and that was his route. And he had a family in Kentucky. He had several children there, and he had a family in Georgia, and he had a lot of children in Georgia. So he kept these 2 women, but he was making so much money because I remember hearing about, Black train engineers back in the day. They were making a lot of money. You can hold down a family like that,
Yeah.
where you have a skilled trade, and this is something that we also discussed offline actually some time ago, a month or so ago.
Right.
You have to, you got to make some money, brothers. We can't be out here on EBT cards and talking about something. We gonna have our women. She gonna go work at Marshalls, and the other one gonna work at Target. Then I'm gonna go work 2 jobs. Like, bro, you gonna burn yourself out. And you got 2 women.
And then you got to level up.
And then don't let them be like Latinas who are known for having a lot of energy. You're gonna get burned out.
Yeah.
Put that down and stick to
you got to level up, man. Got to level up.
But you need some money. And I just wanted to point out those economic strategies that your family utilized. And Brother Jeremy, I don't know how much history you got of your family, but if you can, you might want to dig into like some of the strategies they used as well to hold down the system.
Okay, hey, I will. I can tell you one thing. My father is a hard-working man. As long as he had four boys by my mother, 1 girl by another woman, and rumor has it he just had another girl with another woman. Mind you, he still has a wife at home, so yeah, he on his polygynous thing, but he's always worked 2 jobs. He's always worked 2 jobs. Always had some type of income. That's how my father was, and that's how his father was. But my grandfather had 9 kids with my dad's mom, and then he had, just as you guys talking about, another kid down the street. But my grandfather was the same way. He always had multiple jobs. But we got 2 questions in the comment section for you, Brother Hondo, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
All right. So the first one is, could you tell who is going to be a polygynist and who's not? I'm assuming they're asking about, this guy's asking about like your women or something.
Who is going to be a polygamist?
You mean identifying them as children? Like, can you tell like who
their earlier age? Yeah.
Is that what the question is, Lena, or is it what you were saying, Brother Jeremy? Like maybe like what women will agree to it. But can Dean Garland, can you identify exactly who you're talking?
Be a little bit more Dean,
clarity.
Be a little bit more clearer and specific to your question. Are you referencing
are you referencing the women, or
child is going to be a polygamist when they grow up? And these are things that you can see in them or not? I mean,
Well, I actually have a chapter in Polygamy is Economic Warfare, debuts in February 2025. I'm actually almost done with the book. Then I have to have my editor comb through it. But with identification, I have a chapter there where I talk about identifying polygamous men when they're young, like who's going to be that, like you see your sons, right. And then identifying the women who may be more amenable. Like if you see, say, your daughter or your niece always sharing with other girls, they playing house, is 2 or 3 of them playing house, and it's like, oh, they're the friend down the street who's the same age, he's a guy. He's like, okay, well you're going to be the husband, It becomes easy if you're close with them, if you have filial ties with them, to identify them. And just like my mother did. My mother was always telling me, like, when I think it was on my 32nd birthday, she called me. I was living in Florida at the time. And she said, son, I always knew you would have multiple women. She said, I always knew that, even when you were a boy. She said, I knew that, And one of the ladies actually called my phone now. It's kind of ironic. So, but she can wait. She can wait. But
so yeah, like he clarified it for you here.
So Brother Dean is saying, I was saying, like, when the brother looked at you, said how many.
Yeah, when you were telling us about your pastor,
they knew you were going to be a polygamist. That's
my elder, I don't know if my elder knew that when I was younger, but he was saying this this was just 4 years ago when I saw him. He just wasn't shocked at all that I told him I had, multiple wives. He was like, really? I was like, huh. He was like, excellent. And he actually encouraged me to do well within that system. And yeah, I mean, hopefully that answers your question, Brother Dean.
Yeah.
And well, you actually you answered the other question too, because they was asking, another person asking about your book, if it was still on schedule for release this year.
Yeah, not this year, February 25.
Yeah. So February 25, 2025, Caddy. And the second question was about it says, what is the role of a modern concubine? Is it an honorable position?
Yes, it is honorable.
Yes.
Because remember, I teach from the perspective of economic warfare. You have to look at what's actually happening now. We're not living in ancient Africa. This ain't Mali in 800 CE. We're dealing in Detroit, New York, like Streeter, Illinois, some working class town. We're dealing with that now.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are traveling internationally. So you need a system by which you can operate with your family virtually the same way, no matter where you go. And when you meet up with other polygamists who are part of your clan and or your tribe, your community, your nation, you know how to conduct your affairs with them also. If my and mine step into Brother Mike's house, my women know how to operate with his women. They fall right in, and Brother Mike's women were gonna direct them to, and obviously my woman would know to go help assist his women, whatever is going on. Like it's like this. So a concubine is generally demands, it is not his legal wife, okay? I also like to use the term consort for a woman who you're especially close with. But a concubine, generally, that's a woman you're really, really close with, but you have a very high sexual vibration with this woman. Okay, generally that's what it is. That's why, for example, you might have different standards for your concubine. For example, if you don't like tattoos on a woman, but your wife or two wives don't have tattoos, but she's got tattoos, she's sexy and she's got some serious skill, well, that's probably going to be your concubine. And I'm saying if you're sticking hard to these rules, the reason that I tell men to have classifications is because rank always tells you the role, okay, what you're supposed to be doing within that role. And what's surprising is that a lot of women, American women, don't mind being a man's concubine. I'm saying when you say, oh, this is my concubine, now when you're in public, I want everybody to really get this. When you're in public, always call her your wife, because you always want to honor your women no matter the rank. You always want people on the outside to always provide honor to your woman. See, so if I have my concubine with me and we're going to a gala of some type, if they say, hey, Hondo, where's your wife at? Oh, she's there talking with your wife, So I'll give you an example. I'll give you a real life example. So I guess in American parlance, we would just say girlfriend, right? Mm-hmm. So I had this girlfriend. We were together for about a year. And this is almost 20 years ago. And we were in Whole Foods in the middle of this downtown area, okay? And we saw one of the elders that she had introduced me to a few months before. I hadn't seen him in a while. And I cut the corner and he said, hey, how's that Hondo? What's going on? And he's like, he doesn't see my lady. We hung out all the time. So he's like, hey, where's your wife at? Now, I didn't get all deep and conscious and go off into the rings of Saturn and we'll see technically, brother, she's my concubine. You don't do that. Yeah. Because you always want to honor, your woman should always be seen up here in the eyes of the public. Even if y'all are beefing. Even if y'all are beefing, or if you're not beefing, even if she's of, say, secondary status in that way, as far as her rank is concerned, you always refer to her as your consort or your wife, because those are high titles. A consort is a high title. Yeah. So that's just one example. And I said, oh, she actually just went to the salad bar. He said, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll see her when I head around the corner. I said, sure. And that was one of her elders. So it's not like, I had no problem with her talking with her. With her alone or anything like that. Right. But I'm going to try to give as many examples, real life examples, as possible.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah. I wanted to kind of like shift and navigate to another question that, we have here for you. When I met Hondo, like I said earlier in the intro, and how, I had just released my first video on polygyny, and he saw the video and he reached out to me. He sought me out, and it says something a lot about his character. That even though he dropped knowledge in this particular space, pretty much took the initiative, you know, in YouTube, and where many others who may have studied the subject and probably was kind of like shied away from actually going public with the knowledge that they had already known. But he, you know, he gutsy came out and just started teaching. You know, first he had those earlier videos where he had the board up on, and the other brother was
that was Brother Che behind the camera talking too, brother.
Exactly.
Yeah, Brother Che was in that commentary. Yeah.
What that showed me was that, you know, the principle of community. You know, it wasn't about ego. It wasn't about well, you know, let me see what this young or this new cat or this new creator right here on YouTube, let me see what he got. You know, let me give him a little bit of time. Maybe he gonna fall, maybe he'll stop. That wasn't what I got from him. When he reached out to me, he asked me if we can speak over the phone. And when we spoke over the phone, it was just like such an eagerness that he had to bring me in to network, you know, to talk with me. What I want to ask you, Hondo, is like, what drove you to want to initially, you know, reach out to me and to connect with me on that particular level when you didn't know who I was? That's, you know, that's a personal question. Yeah.
Well, but it is a good illustration of how we should be operating, especially as men. We need to operate with no envy, no jealousy, and no trying to destroy another man's economy by first destroying his name. Remember, now I want everybody to remember this. Okay, there's 4 ways that a man can be destroyed, but especially when you're in a relationship with a woman, because she's always gonna go through these 4 stages in order. Remember the 4 P's, gentlemen, and then I'm actually gonna go dive right back into your question and bring it forward. The 4 P's. Remember this. The first thing that a woman will try to destroy, or a man who is jealous, okay, he's not in his head right, okay. He's gonna destroy your person, okay. He's gonna try to destroy like who you are as a man. That means violence. That means potential violence, because it's like that envy and jealousy can rise up. Remember Cain and Abel. Remember the 2 brothers. That's exactly what happened with them.
Okay.
Then someone will try to destroy your property, your material and your intellectual property. In other words, that's theft. That is the, you know, robbing and stealing, highwaymen, you know, people who are breaking into people's homes, thieves. You have the 3rd P is destroying your progeny. Okay, that's destruction of your lineage and your legacy. Okay? The P4 is destroying your public image. Okay, so as right ruling men, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to first build you up as a person. Okay, we're supposed to exchange gifts. For example, one of my elders, I think he's in a room there. When I met him, I wasn't thinking, I was like, I'm supposed to bring a gift to this man. I was meeting him for the first time. He welcomed me in his home, and I was there for the afternoon, and we were just parlaying. I was parlaying with he and his consort. And I apologized to him just last week. I called and said, Elder, my apologies. I should have brought something with me. Okay, you look at what the patriarchs did. Okay, there was a reason that tithe was given, okay, by the patriarch, from one patriarch to the next, because you're supposed to give of your material and your intellectual property to those who you want to honor. Okay. Right. So the least I could have done, Brother Mike, at that time, and I watched the videos. I watched a bunch of your videos. Like, I think at the time, the videos you had, I watched all of them. And I said, see, this brother is serious. And you were breaking stuff down. So like, it was very succinct and so tight, you know, and everybody in the space wasn't doing that at the time. There was only a few of us at that time. And I said, yo, I want to talk with this brother. So that's what I said. And plus, going all the way back to my childhood again, what I said about regarding my paternal grandfather, I saw him building bridges with my maternal great grandparents. I saw that, you know, week in and week out, when he would come all the way from Detroit to Holly. Now, anybody who knows Michigan, that's an hour 15 minutes. He would come all the way out there, and then the second home that he built was only a 5-minute drive in Rose Township. We actually have a road named after us. So, and we have a lake named after us too. So it's a thing where I saw that man building bridges, and my cousin Dion, you know, he's not he's not on the cast today, but he and I always say that, you know, we're in our 40s now, and we haven't done 10% of what our grandfather did. We will hope to try to fill his shoes with all the honor he received and things like that. So I started learning, like when I got out on my own, I moved to Atlanta. I was by myself. I think my youngest aunt was in Atlanta at the time, but I didn't really have like a community. So I went from 18 until 29, where I had no friends outside of 19 to 29 years old, because my friends from DC and Maryland, they moved. I had a friend from Gaithersburg, Maryland, and I had another friend from Washington, DC. They moved. So after I was 19, I didn't hang out with anybody for 10 years. I was just fasting, praying, studying the Bible, playing basketball, you know, writing a lot. I mean, I literally had notebooks stacked from the floor to like the ceiling. That things I wrote. So when I got out and I started meeting other people who are of the same mind, like Brother Che, the one who was at the whiteboard or behind the camera while I was at the whiteboard. We met when I was 29. I still have my friendships from when I was 13, but those guys were gone. Those guys are back in the Mid-South and in Detroit. So I said, I'm going to start pulling together some of the brothers. And I don't know why that came to my mind. You know, I don't know why that came to my mind, but I think it was more when I became a truck driver. And one of the brothers, and I don't know if Master Maccabi is here, but he was a truck driver. And he said, yo, man, as he was training, he said, yo, man, you need to get out of that golf industry, man. You need to come drive a truck. I was like, drive a truck? He was like, man, just do it, man. Just do it. So I waited like about 2.5 years. And I finally went through the training, became a truck driver. And I sat down one day in the truck. I was thinking, because I was talking with one of the brothers. And this is why I contacted you. And I said, you know what? All these people from these social media are asking all these questions. I was like, man, shoot, why don't I go sit down and have lunch with everybody? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm passing through town, like, shoot, I started calling cats like, hey, man, I'm coming through, you know, Fort Lauderdale, man. What's up? It was like, oh, man, cool, man. I got your book, man. Hey, let's sign it. I said, yo, I was like, we're on social media, but the guys ain't building no bridges. I said, okay, I'm going to do that. So when I see guys who are really on point with this stuff, man, I always want to meet up with those cats, because I still learn from people who say they learn from me. I'm always learning from everybody else. Like, you were a pastor, Brother Mike. So there's things that, you know, I haven't been in that position. I was a Bible teacher. Like, I've done speaking engagements, stuff like that, but I was never a pastor. So some of the things, your perspectives you give me and things I saw in your video are on point. So like I said in the beginning, we're supposed to fill in gaps as men. And when we get our women should be so on point that we learn something from that woman every single day. That's how dope she is. And those are the type of women we should choose. I'm going to leave that as a sidebar, but that's why
you know, when you say all of that, and, you know, leading up to this question that you've just answered, like when you say all of that, it to me, it puts together like this, the puzzle is complete. Like, yeah, we got this revelation that polygyny is a viable lifestyle, that yes, the books say that you can practice it. Yes, this has been something that's been happening.
All the holy books, by the way, all the holy books.
Exactly. And that's why I said the books, right? The books say this, right? Yeah, we might live in a culture that's aberrant or hostile against it, but nevertheless, we know that many in all cultures have practiced this.
Yes.
So with that being said, there's a lot of brothers that, you know, get the knowledge, receive the insight, get the revelation, understand what the texts are actually saying, and they just want to run with it. As well as being with social media, you know, it's an avenue where you can make money. And so there's this push or this drive to, you know, just want to go up in the algorithm, gain followers and subscribers and so forth and whatnot. But what you're saying and what I'm getting from you is that it should be within the context of a community. From the beginning of talking, you've been talking about you shouldn't step out and try to be a polygamist, right? And not be a part of a community, not have
correct.
Others that can hold you accountable, right?
That's correct. That's correct. And I'm saying that as someone who's been nomadic for decades. I mean, I've done the nomadic thing. I've traveled internationally. You know, my consorts are international, and it's very easy to slip. I mean, I remember when I was off the rails. I mean, I was like just, I'm all over the place. And I said, you know what? I was like, 'cause one of the brothers pulled me aside. One of them was Brother Che, and I had this other brother pull me aside, and both of them at different points in time, but close in time, sometimes the same weeks. They were on the phone with me and in person, like, bro, you're gonna have to get this together. Like whatever you got going on right here, that's not going to work. The stuff you talking about polygamy, you talking about this and that. First of all, you need some money, because I was broke when I started writing polygamous papers. I had nothing.
You have vision.
I had nothing. As a matter of fact, I think one of my potential consuls just called, Brother Mike. Did you want her to say hello to the
sure, that'd be great. That'd be great. Sure.
Once she
have a link.
Was that?
Does she have a link?
No, she's actually here. I'm gonna hold my phone to the camera here.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. That'll be good.
This is Sister Layla, y'all. I'm about to have her say hello.
All right.
Hello, Layla. Can you hear me? You hear me? All right, she's a little shy, y'all, but I'm gonna have her say hi. Everyone, this is Sister Layla.
Hey, sister, blessings, shalom.
Blessings to you, shalom, shalom.
Nice
Shalom,
to meet you.
sister. Bless you.
Blessed. Thank you for giving us your appearance and presence and popping in here tonight. Thank you so much. Heard some wonderful things about you. I don't know if
Brother Mike said that he heard wonderful things about you, and then he said thank you for showing up. She not, but thanks, Layla. I appreciate it. I'll call you when I'm done, okay?
Yeah, and thank you, bro, because I know this is a normal time when you and her get to speak. She being overseas, yeah.
No, it's all good, brother.
Yeah.
The thing about my consorts, even those that I'm getting to know, they know that like when I come and I do interviews and things, like this is business. So like I'm at work, so they treat it like I'm literally going off, say, to the construction site, or like I'm going to drive a truck, or that I'm doing whatever. So they respect that space. But Layla's a very, very nice woman. I've enjoyed getting to know her. So we'll see. And then my other consort, she actually just contacted me too, but she gonna have to wait. Like literally, she just sent me a message. Take care, because I sent her a message before the show, and I'm saying this so that we can understand as brothers. We have to make sure that our women know our personal schedule, what we have to do. I told my other one, I said, look, I have an interview, because normally she and I talk around 7:30. I said, hey, look, I got to jump on this interview. I'm going to give you a call this evening, her time. So she's 12 hours ahead of me. So I'll call her basically in 12 hours. She said, okay, no problem. I just read the message. Right. So these are the type of things we got to understand too, when, the not disturbing us when we're working, because we're sort of like, we're part of this engine as the man in the household. You're part of this engine, right? And you're sending out resources, intellectual resources. You're sending out sometimes financial resources, things like that. And you want to have everybody on code.
Exactly.
Everybody got to be on code. But
it's a system.
But my apologies. So back to what you were asking me, Brother Mike.
Yeah, no, it's pretty. I think you pretty much summed it up. I think I got the gist of it, that that it re-solidifies even more what you said in the beginning, the importance of having community, having network, having a brotherhood, having those that can hold you accountable, right? As well as iron sharpening iron, right? So that only makes us stronger, and that only makes us better, because when we're to ourselves, we're open to subject to so many different things that can deter us, distract us, and get us off into the deep end in a place where we don't really want to go.
That's correct. And it's like I said, near the beginning of the program, you will become a monster if you don't have a brotherhood. And I'm going to say this again for maybe some of the guys who just stepped in. If you don't have guys who are calling you every day, you should be getting at least one phone call from one of your brothers every day. I get at least 2 phone calls a day, 7 days a week. Like, so Hondo, where you at, man?
Yeah,
you in Minneapolis. So when you going home, they know my schedule, they know where I'm at. I'm going to be at 3 o'clock. They know that because it's very easy to get off your square out here.
Yes.
And I've been off my square before, and cats will call me like, bro, man, go home, bro. like just like, what are you doing? like why are you with that woman over there? Like, no,
go home.
Wow. But that's a quote. That's a quote. There was in fact, it was Brother Che, Chief Yuya told me this. See, I can call these brothers names because I'm gonna give them props. Chief Yuya, I can name about 5 other brothers. They were like, because I was traveling for 15 years. I wouldn't get an apartment, I wouldn't get a house. If I want to see my women, I'll go travel to see them at their house.
Right.
And these guys were on the phone me like, dog, so okay, so your income went up. You just doubled your income. So when you going home? Well, nah, I'm good, man. I'm about to go travel, man. Passport bros. And they was like, stop. They were like, time out, bro. Listen.
You had a passport fever?
Was that?
You had a passport bro fever spell at one point?
Well, no, I've always had a passport. I've had
no, a passport bro. The movement. Like,
well, yeah, I'm referring to that too. Like, I was about to start traveling more, and a couple of the brothers like, man, listen, like, don't you got to write a book? It's like, ain't everybody asking when you gonna write the book? It's like, oh man, I'll wait. Like, no. They're like, you can't even rest properly and deal with your women properly unless you have your own domicile. So I said, you know what? Cool. So that's why I'm actually here in my domicile now. I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and just get that done.
And and you spoke to the being accustomed to being a nomad, right? So you had to get out of that mode, I guess.
Yes, because you have to have stability in order to have the women. You notice we haven't really talked about having the women yet but everybody, some people might be like, well, I thought we were going to talk about polygamy. Well, this is the foundation we're discussing.
Exactly.
Before you even get to the women don't even want to talk to you. You don't got no house. Like, bro, we're like, you live out in the countryside. Where your truck at?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't got no job. Like, wait a minute. It's like, no, you need to have a measure of wealth to be a polygamist. Now, I want to make sure everybody understand that.
Right.
You need you some gold, silver. You need to have some land.
Right.
My land is actually nearby. I'm actually building a house on my land soon. So like it's just things I had to do, and these brothers were in my ear like, dog, you ain't gonna be out here being no polygamist and you don't got no spot. Hold on. It was like, hold on. So even at my age, there's still people always making sure I'm on point. So it's just like a government. Remember, economic warfare refers to governmental invasion of another land or territory or a person or entity, other entities. So you have to have your own headquarters in order to operate as a polygamist. And since I've been here, my mind is just cleared up. All the brain fog cleared out. I actually started writing more. And I only work part-time now. See, I had to get my income up where I only have to work part-time now, and I can still take care of my business.
Right.
These are just little things hopefully we can get into later, but I want to throw that out there for the brothers. We haven't forgotten about the women yet. And I know some of the ladies listening, we haven't forgotten about y'all yet.
Yeah. But this is key though. You was gonna say something, Brother Jerry?
No, I was going to say we got 2 questions in the comment section, but if you guys have listened to Brother Hondo for any amount of time or have even heard of him, he always preaches, especially to us men, that we have to have foundation first, and the women always come last. And after you've established yourself, and you put yourself in a position to become a polygamist, as he was just talking about.
Yeah, and I learned a lot about finance from guys who are wealthy. When I was a golf caddy, for 25 years. A lot of these old European Jewish men, these older white guys, they took me aside and were like, hey, look, let me teach you about money. That's because you're intelligent, like you're articulate, like you need to be making some paper. You shouldn't even be caddying. I had a few of these guys tell me like, you shouldn't even be out here caddying. You need to be teaching somewhere. Straight up.
Right. No too much.
And these stockbrokers, these guys were attorneys. They were dropping game. I've caddied for thousands of people, thousands. And probably 15 to 20% of them were actually actively teaching me about money. And I told Brother Mike previously, and I mentioned a couple of interviews, I caddied for one of the Rothschilds. Though they're the richest European family in the world. I caddied for one of those guys. And he straight up told me everything we're discussing, everything about polygamy, having multiple women, having multiple children, progeny, legacy. He straight up looked me in my eyes and said, I've never heard anybody talk about polygamy like that, but everything you said the last 2 hours, we were on like the 7th hole by that time. He said, everything you told me about polygamy is absolutely correct. That's exactly how the wealthiest people in the world operate, polygamously. One of the Rothschilds said that. So we can't, once he said that, nobody could tell me otherwise. Nobody can tell me otherwise.
It confirms why the imperializers, the colonizers, did not want the masses to practice it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, because they don't want competition. They just want people that are going to be workers and, you know, part of the system and, you know, do the work, carry the load, fight the wars, pay the taxes, right?
As you know, Brother Mike, I believe I'm the only person teaching that the only reason that prescriptive monogamy exists is because of the European slave system. And it wasn't even every European country doing this. Right. It wasn't European powers, the Dutch, the English, Dutch, English, the French, Portuguese, Spanish, Italians. Everybody else was not pivotal in preventing other nations from producing. Mm-hmm. One time I caddied for this was 2015. I caddied for a Marine tank commander. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this guy was walking with me. He was asking me what my book was about. You know, everybody you saw was like, why are you caddying? They're like, what do you do? Like, I'm caddying. Like, well, I teach on polygamy. I wrote a book. It's like, man. So he was asking me about my book. And I asked him about my theory. I said, if as a Marine tank commander, and in 2020, they actually discontinued their tank division, but that's just a side note, you know, interesting historical fact.
Right.
But he said that he agreed with my theory that the best way, if they invade and they occupy for a time, the best way to prevent them from becoming a greater enemy is to shut down the marriage system and to prevent them from multiplying. He agreed with my theory. He said that's actually probably the main way you should do it. Like, okay, we can deal. He said, this is what he told me. He said, we can deal with the people alive now. He said, but we don't want their children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren to come back and destroy us. He said, that's very interesting. You know, and remember, these are all golfers. These are golfers. These are very wealthy men. They understand where I'm coming from. I've had golfers admit to me, in fact, somebody that I know who works with Tiger Woods, he straight up told me he has another woman. Like, you know, I know these are people that I'm talking to. So for those of you who may be watching this and being critical, I mean, this is normal. Polygamy is normal. In fact, E.W. Murdoch in his Ethnographic World Atlas in 1968 did a study of, I believe it was 1,190 cultures.
90 and 86, something like that.
Yeah. We have 1,186. You're right, Brother Mike. He found that 868 of those cultures so they had three classifications. That the society is either polygamous, sometimes polygamous, or monogamous. But we know there's no such thing as sometimes polygamous. So I actually reinterpreted his data. I crunched the data, and I came up with 89%. If you add the polygamous societies and the sometimes polygamous societies, that's 89% of the societies that he studied. Okay. I added another percent point just because I know in a monogamous society like the United States, classified as monogamous, you still got people practicing, right? So they did a similar study in 2009. Same percentage. They did another study. They did a study before that in 1998. Same thing. 2012, similar study, same percentage. So even if the nation does not encode polygamy into law as something which is viable, people are still going to engage in polygamy.
Practice it, yeah.
Still do it. Yeah. So that's all I got for that, brother. I was trying to fill in the,
Yeah. You, take a little pivot, a little shift from what you're talking about. You talked about earlier in your upbringing, right? Brother Hondo, how has or has not your faith contributed to your journey in this space? of polygyny. I know some have even questioned, well, what are his beliefs? Some out there, social media, they've questioned, like, is he a Hebrew? Is he Muslim? Like, what is his belief? Is he an atheist? So would you mind sharing that with us tonight?
Yeah, well, I practice actually, I guess a co-culture, if you can, of Islam and Hebrewism. Whenever I travel, people always think I'm Muslim, and I don't wear traditional Islamic garb for men. But the way that I move, they like, oh, brother, you must be Muslim. In fact, when I was working as a golf caddy, one of my last jobs, there was a very learned brother named Adrian. Shouts out to brother Adrian. I'm gonna have to. I actually still got his number. I'm gonna have to call him. But he used to always say, he said, man, out of all those caddies, he said we had like over 100 caddies there. He said, you're the only cat I really respected. He said, because I saw how you moved. He said, and I was surprised that you said you were a Christian, because I was still apostolic at the time. He said, I thought you were a Muslim. He said, man, you so disciplined, man. You come out here, and he said, whenever I caddy with you, he said, I always make the most money. He said, and these other guys be talking bad about you. He said, but I always remind them that I don't make no money when I'm with y'all. When I go out with Hondo, we making money, he said, because he knows how to deal with the golfers. He knows how to deal with me. So we always work together to make sure that we making the most money out here. We get paid. So the way I eat, my disciplines, things like that. But all I'm saying is that, Islamic culture, if we're talking about Mohammedanism, as it used to be called, that came out of Hebrew culture, because Muhammad was heavily influenced by Hebrews and Christians when he was a caravan driver with his uncle. Okay, so the salat, the prayer postures and things like that. But Islam has a wide reach, and if you want to become Muslim, one reason I like this is because there's a lot of people who want to do it. You can easily find a teacher. You can easily find people who would take you in. Hebraic culture has always been, and this is not necessarily a bad thing, it's just the way we are. Like, it's almost elitist. It's like, well, okay, you're going to have to jump through a lot to get in here, which is fine. You're actually supposed to be like that. But because they are so similar, and because I jive economically well with even Hindus, but I don't practice Hindu culture, then that's something that I can practice. And again, people think I'm Muslim anyway when I'm handling my business. So it's always funny. They never say, hey, man, you must be Israelite. Nobody says that. Yeah. But nevertheless, as you know,
yeah. Like what you appear to be militant, like how you carry yourself and your posture.
Yeah. All of that. I get that all the time from Muslims too. A lot of the Muslims will approach me, and I've courted a couple of Muslim sisters before. Even Layla, Layla was for many years. She was a Muslim when she returned to the Philippines. She didn't want to move to Mindanao. Mindanao is where most of your Muslims are.
Right.
She's from Luzon. So, but she actually told me, she said, if I become your woman, like, I would love to return to an Islamic way of life. She said, I was my healthiest when I was a Muslim. She said, I was very happy. She said, I became a Muslim because I liked how the elder women were moving.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked that. And you see how quiet she was. You see, she was kind of trying not to.
Yeah.
She's very demure, very shy.
Yeah.
And I like my women like that. They don't need to be loud or boisterous all up in the,
right.
mixed up with the fellas and all that.
Right.
There was definitely a certain softness, even just for the few seconds I saw her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
very, very much so.
It doesn't take long to see, right? It doesn't take much to see. It doesn't take long to see the softness.
Sorry, in the head dress, everything.
Yeah.
Right.
And what's funny is just to show, like, again, how we're supposed to select women. Even though she's actually traveling away from home right now, she still has headscarves. Because I said, hey, I was like, if you come on, the show, I might have you come on. I said, you need to be covered. She said, oh, and she pointed right next to her. She said, oh, I have a bunch of them here.
She prepared, huh?
Ready, right?
Like, okay, that's what I like to hear.
Yeah. So on the faith topic, you know, how do we approach polygamy from a biblical perspective then? Because we do have a lot of Torah observers, maybe a few Christians that are in the audience. So how do we approach it from a biblical perspective?
So there's a book I would like everyone to check out, and I'm gonna give you actually a few of these books. One of them is called Mikra, text translation, reading, interpretation of the Hebrew Bible in Ancient Judaism, Early Christianity, is by edited by M.J. Mulder and Harry Sisling. Okay, now they put together a very, very large book on how these things were understood in the beginning, and Mikra was what people falsely call the Old Testament. There's nothing old about it, and there's nothing new about the New Testament. You have to go back to what the sages were teaching. So, for example, when we get into what so-called theology, which is soteriology, ecclesiology, angelology, demonology, Christology, you know, we get into all that. Soteriology as well. Soteriology is the doctrine of salvation.
Right.
When you're getting into something like that, you really have to go back to what is called the PRDS principle: Peshat, Remez, Dresh, and Sof. This is what I use. Now, the Hebraic tradition that I practice is Beta Israel. Okay, and this goes further into your previous question. I was trained by a man from Tigrinya who speaks 16 languages. He's taught in Asia. He's taught in Africa, and in Europe and in South America. He's been a professor in all three continents. And this man trained me in the ancient languages of Gez. So I used to be able to speak, read, and write Gez. Okay, I haven't used it in a while, but you know, remember when my grandfather taught me, he's like, "No, you know everything. You need to go study everything." So Gez, Tigrinya, and Amharic. Amharic and Tigrinya actually came out of Gez. Gez is the oldest biblical language, not Hebrew. Right. So the Hebrew we're supposedly reading is Mishnaic Hebrew. Mm-hmm. And when you get into the proper interpretation, you're looking at Peshat, which is what is expressed in the Bible. Remez mm-hmm. is what is implied. So you have expression, implication. Mm-hmm. Dresh is symbolism. Okay, and the S is for Soth, or SOD. And right. that's the mystery. Okay, that's when you get into esoterics. Mm-hmm. All right. So just and I'm kind of laying this foundation so then we can go deeper into your question.
Okay. Then
you have two types of interpretation according to theology. Okay, that's homiletics and hermeneutics. Homiletics is the art of preaching. When you hear guys hooping and hollering, or you hear, say, the late Charles Stanley, when you see his old videos and he's just standing there teaching, that's homiletics.
Right.
Yeah. And Brother Mike, you know, you were trained as a scholar. You know, you went to seminaries. You know these things, but I don't know how much the audience knows. But the hermeneutics is the science of biblical interpretation, right? That's when you branch off into exegesis and eisegesis. Exegesis is the who, what, where, when. Right. That's when you start getting into biblical languages. Okay, why was that said? What was that custom and manner that we're looking at in the scripture, so we can understand why, you know, Eshu or Yeshua said this. When you get into eisegesis, that's what most preaching is that you hear. That's what most books, Christian books, even many of the Torah believers, when they write a book, that's eisegesis. That's your personal interpretation of what you think the Bible is saying. Okay. So if we stick to the paradise principle, or pardis, you can better understand the layers that combine. It's almost like a ball of yarn, except it's 4 strings instead of 1. Mm-hmm. And you can figure out exactly what's being said. So regarding this, regarding this question about, how do we understand it from a biblical perspective? The Torah is laid out as a set of law codes. That's why you see Yahweh say, if you do this, you will receive this increase. If you do this other thing, you will be cursed and you will be destroyed in some cases, right? So that's just like any law that you look at in the UK, in the mm-hmm. US, mm-hmm. you go to China, human laws are all laid out like that. Right. So when you look at polygamy, you actually see a sanction of polygamy, whereas it says when you take on another wife, mm-hmm. you have to basically you have to continue giving her food, the same food, your first wife, the food, raiment, and duties of marriage, which is sex. You can't diminish that.
Right.
See, so the fact that it allows you to do that, you can't take that out of the rest of Torah, because remember, if you look at Torah, it never had chapters and verses. Chapters and verses were created by Europeans during the early Renaissance era. So I always read the Bible and don't even pay attention to verses and chapters anymore. And I was taught and trained to memorize the Bible. I used to have 60% of the Bible memorized. I could rattle off Genesis almost to Malachi. Okay, I could just, because even at 7, 8 years old, our apostolic churches were like mean. They were like, they made the children memorize the Bible. Okay, so we have to look at polygamy as part of a wider culture. When we say biblical culture, we're talking about Hebrews, but also a wider culture, especially when you look in Torah specifically. You look at, for instance, Moshe or Moses. We see that he had 4 wives. We see that eventually Joseph ended up creating how many tribes? 12 tribes. Okay, or Jacob rather. Jacob ended up creating 12 tribes, and all these people came out of those nations. The fact that you never see it spoken against, that should tell you something. So it simplifies all of the hermeneutics and the gymnastics that everybody's trying to get through. It's like, no, it's a law code. If you don't see it spoken against, then now you have to ask why. So there's some things it doesn't speak against, but we know just based on the results that Yahweh is against that. So I'm just trying to simplify it.
Yeah, can I have you press a little bit further on that part? All right, you kind of alluded earlier about the lawgiver Yahweh basically setting down the standard of the law of the Torah, that you have to keep all of these commandments, you have to follow all of these, right? And that there were consequences to it, right? Can a person today in this modern context go back into the Torah, take those from those laws? Hey, I can practice polygamy. It's lawful, right? And then negate at the same time all of the other laws that help support it as a system, as a community, as holding a person accountable. Would they run into dangers, do you think? Or would you say? If they do that, just want to dip in there, like, for instance, you have modern day pastors, we're no longer under the law, we're no longer under the grace, but no longer under the law, but we're under grace, and yet they want to go back to the law and say that if you don't tithe, you're going to be cursed with a curse.
Right, but we no longer have a functioning temple and priesthood inside the temple, operating out of rooms in the temple where the supplies were given. So they can't tell you to tithe anyway.
Right.
So, but that's a whole other can of worms.
Exactly.
They're trying to get their paper. Okay. Right. But they don't want to say that. As a matter of fact, in seminary, especially if you go to an evangelical seminary, they teach you how to extract money from your parishioners. They teach you that.
Right.
They teach you how to, that'll preach. That'll get people excited. They give you the money. So it's all a game, that they're playing. But to your question, you have to use wisdom. Like, we're not stoning people right now. Okay, for example, especially in Western countries, we're not stoning people. So you don't have to stone people now to actually get them out of your lives. Remember, we're not under a theocracy. You don't live in a theocracy.
Right.
So you have to carry out those instructions, because that's what Torah means. It means instructions. You have to carry those things out that you can in real time. And that's very simple to understand. Yes, that I can practice Sabbath. You know what I'm saying? I can do that. I just take Saturday off. That's one reason why, I left the trucking industry, because I wanted to control my time.
Right.
And I can go ahead, at sunrise, I can make my observations, or have my observations of Shabbat. But taking things out of Torah, remember, there were no chapters and verses. It was all laid out for you.
Right.
And you remember, Moshe had access as a man in real time. He had access to ancient records. That's how he knew and laid down a lot of the stuff that he did. He knew about the Tower of Babel. which at one point actually pieces of the Tower of Babel were still standing in I believe in Persia. I know there's a Bible teacher that I look to. He was like a mentor to me. He actually had visited the ruins of the Tower of Babel. He said these blocks were massive, absolutely massive, and it stretched for like a mile and a half. It was huge, but nevertheless, we can still utilize Torah as a code of conduct for our affairs. And sometimes you just can't, you can't do certain things. I can't go to the temple 4 times a year because we don't have a temple, but that's the simple answer.
Right. All right. I got you. Got that. Brother Jeremy, you had any questions you wanted to ask?
No, we had, I was kind of laughing over here when Brother Solomon, when you touched on about how you go to seminary and they teach that, oh yeah, that'll preach. That's what's really going to bring the money in the congregation.
That'll preach.
Yeah, that'll preach. That sounds good. It's and thankfully the Bible teachers I came up under, they were adamant about you actually understanding hermeneutics. Like you had to have that down pat. Like they were not playing. My Sunday schools. The Sunday school that I came up in was advanced. It was like, no, like I was in there with like experienced ministers. It was actually called the advanced Sunday school class. And it was like 2 hours of some of the most rigorous Bible training ever. And I was like 18, 19 through I think 22. I was part of this class. I didn't go to the college students class because I said, I don't want to hear about y'all's opinion. I want to go here and get up under a theologian, somebody who knows what they're talking about. They understand biblical languages. And that's who my teacher was. And I was actually his apprentice for about 5 years. And he trained me very well. And if you all look up a man named Dr. Johnny James, Johnnny James, The Walking Bible, that's who my mentor was. He was my other mentor. He was my last mentor, as a matter of fact. And I trained with him for about 15 years through my mid-30s. That's who you look that man up, and he wrote 2 books. He had written 2 books before he passed. He just passed, I think, 3-4 years ago, and he was about 96 or 97. But he was an evangelist for 80 years.
Yeah, I just put up Dr. Johnny James. Sorry, and Bible came up right next to it.
Yep, that was my mentor who trained me, and he prayed over me when I was a baby. My mom tells me a story about how he was preaching at our church, the church that we attended when I was like an infant, and he prayed over me, and that the Creator would give me wisdom in the scriptures and how to walk with Him. And I ended up actually meeting him face to face when I was 20, and I straight up asked him, I say, Dr. James, I said, hey, my mom's been talking about you since I was like 2-3 years old. Like she keeps telling me I'm supposed to be like you. Like, would you mind training me? He said, man, you got a lot of fire in you, man. He said, look, absolutely. He said, what's your name? I said, Hondo. He said, hey, Hondo. He said, look, here's my number. He said, I want you to come visit me. I live in Ohio. He said, I want you to come visit me. And don't you know, I used to go visit him whenever he would do retreats. I would go meet with him, and he would he trained me. It kept his number. He actually reviewed my book too. Wow. And he said, I agree with some things. I said, disagree with other things. He said, but overall, he said, I'm very proud of you. He said, overall, that's a great book. He said, and I really appreciate you for writing that. He said, I haven't seen anybody write about polygamy like that. He said, but great job. Yeah. So I'm giving y'all more of the community, my background, but also how we're supposed to have mentors like that, like elders who take us under their wing and are like, hey man, they encourage us and they admonish us to do better. Like, again, filling in those gaps and making changes when necessary. Right. You have to have that. You gotta have that. And man, that's why I'm so fervent when I'm teaching on biblical studies. Biblical studies is my first specialty. It's not polygamy. I was actually holding Bible classes in college, and I taught on other religions. Like I have a bunch of knowledge about other religions too in my head. It's just, it all ties into polygamy because all these other holy books tell you, especially if you read the Mahabharata, which is actually not a religious book for Hinduism. It's actually a history of Hindu culture, because all religions are just a part of a wider culture. So when we talk about Islam, Islamic culture, not Islamic religion. It's just a religion inside of the culture. We talk about Hinduism. Hindu culture has a spiritual system called Hinduism. Christianity is the only religion that's strictly a religion. It's not a culture.
Right.
You do that with Buddhism too. Buddhism was a culture. It was never just a religion. It's Buddhist culture, and it has a spiritual system within it. I'm getting amped now. So like,
that's it. No, lay it out, man, because it's important. Because like I said, definitely, as one of the reasons for doing this is also to fill the gap. That's the title. The title of this a filling of the gap. And you stepped away from this space 7 years ago when you stopped creating talking head videos. But what I would want you to do is to tell us what are some of the problems that you see online and in general within the polygamous community today, and what are the solutions that you would have?
Well, that's a loaded question.
It's loaded.
First problem I see, and this has to do with the women. So ladies, if you're watching, this one's for you. The first thing, men are not teaching it in light of the actual role that you have as a man. I see probably one or two people maybe being thorough with it, but it's patriarch. But how do you take care of those women? Nobody's teaching that. Well, like, I'm the only person, for example, why am I the only person teaching on family trust? Like, you're supposed to have a family trust. Why do you got 3 women and 12 kids and you don't got a family trust? Like, no. What are you going to pass down? Do you have a funeral directive? Do you have a living will and testament? Okay. Do you have life insurance? Does everybody in your family have medical insurance? Okay. Nobody care how many women you smash and how many women are dedicated to you. See, now me and the brother Che, this is something we talk about often because, we both have Filipino consorts, and that's actually a good brother. If he was on here, man, we would just be here for the next 2 days. Talking about that brother knows his stuff. Right. But
he's actually in the comment section.
Yeah. That's my good brother.
He's not healthy. That's him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also from Detroit, by the way. That's my other Detroit brother, by the way.
Yeah.
But we both have Filipino consorts, and that's a totally different. Their culture is direct opposite of us. Now you do have a few Hebrews there, and a lot of Muslims. Actually, 10% of the population in the Philippines is Muslim. So, at any rate, going back into this question here, we as a polygamous community, the people out here teaching it, they don't want to go into these dark corners of the universe or the polygamy universe and start teaching and like things like that are uncomfortable because they want to be famous. They too busy trying to get famous out here as opposed to you just doing the work. When you're doing the work, we will rarely ever see your women. Now, lately, that's the first time you saw any of my women. In another interview I did with Brother Robert Reed, my primary consort who passed away in December of last year, she was just off camera, but she was interacting with Brother Robert and I. If you all look up Robert Reed, R-E-E-D, that brother, he has a debate, by the way, with another Christian preacher. That's sharp. That brother is also very sharp. But I really show my consorts because what people don't realize that, they got the obligatory 2-wife shot, hey, look at my 2 wives, or they got 5 or 6, they want to show off.
It's showcasing.
Yeah, they want to showcase. And I'm like, okay, so you're exposing your women to the utmost scrutiny. And they're going to talk about, well, she's not attractive, or she has an injury, or she's ill, or she didn't look happy this day.
And now, she's overweight, right?
Or she's overweight, or why she looks sick, and you supposed to be a polygamist. And see, now most of the chatter, most of the activity is now focused on negatively criticizing you as the polygamist and your women. And women don't do well with a bombardment of negative criticism. You notice they can literally snap like that. I've seen 2 women.
That makes a lot of sense. So how does that work with because a number of the brothers that I'm sure who currently have women, may have recently told their woman that they want an additional woman, or they want to practice polygyny, or they may even be thinking about it, but they know that their woman has not been raised in that culture, and have their issues with it, their fears, with the idea of sharing, right? So, imagine putting a woman who is trying to overcome, or who doesn't want to overcome, her prescriptive monogamous, thinking and mindset. And here it is, she's being put on Front Street. And then there's all this chatter that's going on, right? How would that have an impact on her?
Well, it won't have an impact on them if you keep her out of the spotlight. See, you can just head that off at the pass. Women don't do well with too much attention from outside their family.
Especially negative, right?
Especially negative, especially negative. And you don't want, and I've seen this, I saw this, I remember this was when Facebook was a bit more popular and handy, like people were actually on there often. I remember there was this brother he was always trying to holler at some other dude's wife, like going up to, and I'm like, bro, everybody was kind of like, bro, you kind of grimy, it is. And if you're practicing tribalism, that man can die. We can go after that dude. We can erase him. Okay. Right. And that's very serious. That's another aspect of economics, which is combat. Okay. Right. No one has a right to invade your home. No one has a right to invade your person. No one has a right to threaten you. Okay. Yeah. So any woman who's interested in joining you, you have to watch and select women who like to be quiet. And I don't mean they don't talk, but they don't like attention. And so Layla just got on the phone. Y'all saw how skittish she was. Yeah. She was like, she was like, but that's how all women should be. Like, because if she were here with me, she would probably just pop in for a minute, say hello, and she would go back doing what she's doing. That's how she is. And I like my women like that. That goes into why I never, up until now, I don't show people my women, because I get women who don't like the spotlight. They just don't like it. They have an aversion to it. They don't want to be on TikTok making a name for themselves. They don't want to be all of my polygamy videos. They'll be there cooking. This happened several times when I was in an interview. My woman was actually cooking. And she didn't want to get on camera. She was like, you at work.
Right.
I don't need to be on camera. And you need women who understand why you're moving the way you move. So when you get on camera, that's not time for them to shine. They're there making sure you got some coconut water, making sure you got some food, a snack or something, because Brother Mike got these long form interviews, we need to eat. And I like it. I love it. You know what I'm saying? But I was prepared. And Brother Mike, you saw me prepared for the interview.
The interview is a journey, man. It's a journey.
But you need women who are constantly preparing your way so that you can go out and do what you're supposed to do. And when you return, you have sustenance for the household and for your legacy.
All right.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's how you select those women. That's how you just talk with them about it. Hey, look, sometimes I'm on camera. I'm gonna give you another example. I'm gonna plug in my computer if y'all don't mind real quick, but I'm gonna stay on camera here. But I used to talk to a woman who was she was initially very critical of me doing this work, okay, talking about polygamy. And I recall that she was very, very critical, okay? And one day we didn't talk for about a week. And one day she just called me out the blue. And she said, you've never, and this is after like a year talking with this woman, I never talked about the fact that I do interviews. Well, I told her I do interviews sometime, but I never mentioned names. I never mentioned the name of my book. Because, and there's another thing, gentlemen, especially if your name is out there, if possible, you don't need to tell new women that you're getting to know. Don't tell them what you do, because you need to watch them. So she calls me up after a week. We didn't talk. She said, you know what? I need to talk to you about something. I said, okay, go ahead. So for the next 3 hours, she talked about me doing this work. She said, you had mentioned you wrote a book before, but you would never tell me, but I looked you up. And she said, quote verbatim, she says, you're like the main dude out here talking about this subject. And she doesn't even like polygamy. She like me, but she don't like polygamy. I'm like,
oh man.
She's like, I didn't know people knew you like that. Like, I'm like, well, I ain't famous, you know, I'm just driving trucks. You know, she's like, no. She said, no. I saw you everywhere on the internet talking about polygamy. She said, why didn't you tell me that? I was like, why should I tell you that? I was like, when I'm at home, all that matters is, you know, I'm your man. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if I'm talking about polygamy or not. I wrote a book or not. That it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
She said, no, but you really need to get out there more. Like, you need a team. Like, you know, who's your team? Like, you need a team. Like, you should be like a multimillionaire. I said, perhaps. But I said, let me explain something to you. And because she's so focused on money all the time, I stopped her. I said, let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you what my granddad told me. Same granddad I told you all about. Money is less important than people. And my mother taught me that too. They're always less important than people. Or, I'm sorry, people are always more important than the money, because you can always go and make money.
Right. That's right.
But relationships are difficult to obtain and difficult to maintain. They're very difficult. When you have friends, they're difficult to maintain. You have to constantly be on point. Make sure you're respectful. Make sure you're kind. Make sure you're giving. Make sure your energy is reciprocated. These are things I was taught as a child. So I'm telling her this, and her eyes are bugging out of her head, like she basically thought I just wanted a girlfriend. I'm like, okay, that's cool, you know, but I don't want to bog you down with my job. Okay, when I go to work, that's work. You don't need to be involved in the stresses of that. You don't need to be on camera with me. You don't need to be giving your opinions and all that. I kick it with the brothers, and then if I need you to show up, you can show up. So I'm giving you an example of kind of how I dealt with that situation.
Right.
I don't really want my women involved in what I do. In fact, they don't care. They just want to be happy and kick it with me. So I leave it at that. So hopefully that answers that.
No, it definitely makes sense. I think brother Eddie here, shalom to you, brother. He said this in the comment, says discretion is your best in polygyny.
Oh yeah.
Best friend.
Yep. And Viceroy, he said to say that's Tracy Haynes.
Yeah, brother Tracy. Shalom, brother. So good to see you. I didn't expect you to be here, but it's good to see you.
Yeah. He's been definitely supporting me for some time. Blessings to you.
Yeah. That's a good brother. I know him personally as well. Brother Tracy's a good man. Good man.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, brother Tracy, we actually have an interview he did with me. It was probably an hour long. We did a video probably 3-4 years ago, and I never published it. I guess I need to get it out
there. Yeah, put it out there.
We got video talking about polygamy, masculinity, things like that. So
put it out there. Yeah.
And hopefully, brother Mike, before you go to the next thing, hopefully I've been answering your questions.
No. This is good. No, you're giving information, and you answering the questions. Yeah. No, I mean, hopefully it's being received well. I mean, I see we still got people in the chat. Yeah, people are still here. They were here with us. They didn't abandon. They didn't flee. So it's being received. It's being received. Definitely. Okay, so touching on what you just got finished touching on, I think this will be a good time to segue into this particular question. And I mean, just cut to the chase.
Sure.
What's the best way for a man to become a polygamist?
Man, that's a loaded question. Okay, so to keep it very concise, your psychology has to be hardened. Okay, you have to be a fortress mentally, because you're gonna, assuming again you're gonna have a brotherhood before you get your second one. Hopefully, even before you get a first woman, girlfriend, consort, concubine, a wife. You've got people around you, just like with my women, they already know my friends don't play. I'm not gonna move back to prescriptive monogamy. I'm not doing that, and they know. I let them know. This goes back to your previous question.
Yeah.
All my women know that all my friends are polygamists, or they agree with polygamy, or their homes are set up for that if they choose to do it. So it's not like I'm going to be backed into a corner, because those brothers ain't gonna let me get back into a corner. It's like, man, you wrote the polygamist papers. You better not back up. You know what I'm saying? All the brothers gonna tell me like, hey man, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But just on principle, you have to be a man that has a plan in mind. Like you cannot have even one woman around you at all, even if you're not in a relationship with her, and she was going to take you seriously if she senses in your bearing, the way you walk, the way you dress,
Right.
the way you address different levels, types, kinds, and classes of people, and you sketchy, and you don't really know. That's why I never tell a woman that I don't know. You know, like a woman would say, well, babe, well, when is this going to happen? Or where's this? So you know what? Give me a couple days. I'm gonna get back to you on that.
Right.
I never say the words I don't know, because women are intelligent. They know that, okay, he doesn't know right now, but he's going to get back to me. They'll accept that, but don't ever tell a woman you don't know, even if you don't. Say, you know what, let me get back to you. Remember, you have a brotherhood, so one of your brothers will know. You can get on this phone. You can get on this phone and call them. Just get on the phone, start dialing numbers. Hey man, hey. I've been wondering, man. I'm trying to bring this third woman in, man, but I gotta go do A, B, and C. You know how to do that? Oh, you know what? My cousin is an attorney. So you on the phone parlaying, you got your problem solved in 5 minutes. Now you got the name and number of one of your brother's cousins who's a family law attorney. Now you got the problem solved just like that. So you marinate on that for 2 days. That's why I always give my women a far out time frame. If they ask me something I don't know, then by the time they come back to me, I fleshed out the problem and I found a solution. And this is an economic strategy. And women know that too. And I don't mind women hearing this, because they'll agree with that. They don't like going to their man, especially if you're older, you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s and up.
Yeah.
You don't know. like you got 3 women and you don't know.
A lot of sense.
Never say that.
You speaking of economics, Robert Kiyosaki, that's one of his principles that he often teaches. He taught that in his book Rich Dad Poor Dad that he wrote back in the 90s.
Yes.
That's one of his principles that he always talk about, how his rich dad taught him, whenever the kids ask or the children ask for something, never tell them we can't afford it. You always, well, we're going to figure out how we can afford it. Right. Rather than just say, no, and just completely turn the lights off, keep the lights on and then try to figure out how to get it, from there. Right. Yeah.
That's correct. So to the brother's question, I'm assuming there's a brother asked the question there. Your psychology has to be on point. Also, there's been sort of a slow uptick.
Which question? I want to put it up on the screen.
What's the best way for a man to become a polygamist?
Oh yeah, no, that was a question I put up. I'll put that up. Yeah, okay.
So you have to have a spiritual base, and there's been a slow uptick in these polygamous men trying to make a name for themselves, and they getting out in the media like, oh, well, we don't need religion, and it's like, yeah, wait a minute. It's like, wait a minute, boss. No, you have to have a spiritual base, and you have to have a very militant mindset when it comes to your economy. You have to be absolutely ruthless with the things that you are laying down, because remember, this is going to impact multiple generations behind you, your decisions.
Right.
And I used to think only for myself. I'm out here, I'm a nomad. I'm like 25. I'm like, yeah, man, I got this. And I made a lot of mistakes that I'm still paying for to this day, because I was not thinking, oh, well, that's going to impact the 7th generation behind me, that comes behind me.
Right.
So you have to think that. Always think about your plans and play out the plan in your head and how it's going to impact your children and beyond, and well beyond them.
Right.
The other thing is becoming a polygamist. And this actually encapsulates everything. You have to just be a polygamist. Like the way you walk, the way you talk. Women approach you, they already know you got other women. They already know that.
Right.
That's happened to me. I remember I had a Haitian girlfriend many years ago, and we were out somewhere, we were talking, and she said, so, hey, aside from such and so, how many other women you got? I was like, oh, she's like, well, no, I'm sorry. That was a different time. and that was before I got the second woman. At the time, I was single when I met her. And she said, well, you know, the day we met, I came over to your house. She said, I assumed you had another woman. I'm surprised you didn't have another woman over there. I said, wait, so you are, she said, I just assumed that. She said, a guy like you should already have 2-3 women. So, and I said, why would you say that? She said, it's because of the way you carry yourself. And there was a time where I was at one of my elders' properties, okay? And I was training in holistic health, and my elder was gone, but I was still on the property. And I'm outside, beautiful day, birds singing, 200 acres of land. I'm out here in Virginia talking to this other woman. She was an older sister. I think I was 32 at the time. She was about 37. And she said, well, how many women do you have? At the time, I was single. I said, well, I'm single right now. And this is before I started teaching on polygamy. This is right before I started teaching on it. She said, huh, that's interesting. She said, you know, you're the type of man who needs 4 wives. I said, what? Because remember, I wasn't teaching on it. I wasn't out there talking about it. She said, you probably going to need 4, maybe 5 wives. I said, what makes you say that? She said, brother, you got too much energy. She said, you got ideas. She said, the things you're doing now. She said, you smart. She said, you know, guys like you, there's not a lot of you there. And plus, you seem like you really understand domestics. See, so here she is. She saw that. She saw that. And I didn't even see it at the time. Like I wasn't even really thinking about polygamy. This is like just even a month before I started teaching. I wasn't even really thinking about it at the time. And I just thought there was an interesting conversation that I kept in mind, and I started to take it. I started to take this thing more seriously when I thought about writing the book. I was like, this needs to be done the right way. And that was another one of my concerns about the community at large. People don't want to talk about certain things. They scared of girls. They like 50, 60 years old. You scared of women, and you don't want to tell your one woman that you
rejection. You want rejection. Yeah,
you don't want rejection. That's part of being a man. You're gonna get rejected from jobs. You're gonna get rejected at schools. Women gonna reject you, and you can be the best looking brother in the world, and you're gonna get rejected at least 20% of the time. It's gonna be some girls who don't like you. They just don't like you because you're too tall. I had a girlfriend who complained all the time that I was too tall. Now I'm just, I'm a little bit under 6 feet, and she was always complaining because she was 5'5", and she liked guys her height. And I'm like, well, I'm not 5'5". I can't be 5'5". but she didn't like me. And most girls you hear but I had another sister who was 6'2". I knew this is a big sister. And she was like, I love me some Hondo right now. She said, but you just, why can't you be 6'5"? You're just going to get rejected a lot. And it's a part of being a man. So that's another problem with the community and with the polygamous community out here teaching. We don't want to take it to certain levels, because what that's going to do, which keeps going backward in time and in our discussion here, is going to force you to become the absolute best man that you can become. If you're a polygamist, you have to become that dude. You have to.
Right.
You don't even have an option. If you say, I want to be a polygamist, hey, you go to your woman, you're like, hey, I'm thinking about adding another woman. She looking at you like, bro, what? Well, then you can be like, baby, look, I'm making $500,000 a year. We only spend $250,000. We only got 2 children. You know what I'm saying? I got our own land, it's all, or my trust has land. Then I have my personal property for my family. Your cousin like me, you just start laying it down for like your cousin like me. And the Puerto Rican sister at my job, she like me too. So, what am I going to do?
Right.
Especially when you become a man who is prominent in the community. And let's say you have a successful business, or you invent a new software program. Now your net worth is 50 mil. So you mean to tell me I'm only going to have one woman? No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are some of the things you have to do. Have to have a plan. Make sure your mind is sharp. Make sure you work out at least 4 days a week, gentlemen. Make sure you exercise.
Yeah.
Like even at my age, I can still hoop. Like I can still ball. Like I still hoop with 20-year-olds sometimes. So it's like, it's you have to be able to keep up, because women are going to soak up your emotional energy. That's going to seep into your body, how much energy you're using physically. And you need to be mentally sharp, because sometimes your women going to test you. Even the best women, they going to run a test on you.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You gotta shut that down.
It's you know, I mean, she's not here, but you know, Sister Deborah and I was talking about that. You know, I mean, it's just within the nature of women, you know, because it's part of them. They're not as strong as us, you know, so therefore they have to use this. And one of the things that women do, just, you know, and even as little girls, they test you out,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to see, you know, whether if they could boss you around, or whether if they can, you know, just be mean to you and rule you, and how you going to take it, how you going to respond, you know. And it's all really just a means of just vetting you, you know, to see whether if you fit the bill. No.
Well, I'm gonna give you all another example. So my late consort name was Emily, okay, or Emmy for short. So she calls me one day. She's on video call, and I'm like, you know, babe, what's up? Because we had already talked earlier in the day, but we normally talk 2 or 3 times a day. And she's my main consort, so she was always up on everything within my economy. She knew everything was going on, and she was giving her opinion on like other women. I was trying to see all that stuff. So she was staying with a friend of hers in one of their older friends' homes that they owned, right? So she's staying with her friend who's her age, right? She calls me, and they're at the front of the house in the doorway talking. And I'm like the way her friend was looking at me, I'm like, her friend started doing all this, like she started speaking in Cebuano. And my lady spoke 11 languages, so, and she could understand the other 3 languages. So she was really smart. She's like, oh babe, V says, you know, she says, you're very handsome. I was like, okay, I appreciate it, V, thank you. You know, and I'm like, what's going on here? And she says, babe, she says, how you think Virgil look? Now they sitting shoulder to shoulder, both in the camera, and V, she giving me the eye, right? She give me choosing signals. So Emmy was like, babe, you know, you could come back. When you come back home, you can take on me and V. She said, then you don't have to go outside the house. Both your women are here. I was like, I mean, this phone call was getting like more interesting. So V stood up and was parading so I could see her, see her shape and all that. And she wasn't bad looking, but she was straight. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, so you know, what's up? So she said, yeah, when you come back, you know what I'm saying, we can talk more. She said, but she started speaking with her and translating when she was speaking back to V in Tagalog. I'm sorry, Cebuano. And she says, yeah, my man, talking about me. She's like, you know, my man's very loving, you know, he's handsome, got a nice fit body. She's like, yeah, he takes really good care of me too. You know, I don't have to worry about nothing. And she was like, oh, she was up there giggling and stuff like that. She's like, babe, when you come back, when you come here, you can just sleep with both of us, you know, because she got her room, I got my room. And, you know, we got a house here already. I was like, okay, this phone call was very interesting. You know?
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah, that's not America.
What's that?
I said that's not America.
But see, but this is what happens when, like, I carry myself like a play. Like I don't talk about it a lot with my women. I actually, that's another thing too for the person who asked. Stop talking with women about polygamy so much. I never even ask women's opinion about polygamy when I'm getting to know them. I don't ask their opinion. I don't ask what they want.
Yeah.
This is my economy. You joining my economy. So this is what I'm gonna do. And if you want to be part of that, that's what I'm doing. And you're gonna be here. Right. So that's you don't have to be arrogant about it or pushy. Mm-hmm. But when you're relaxed and you conduct your affairs like that, everything you do is magnified. When I go get a job, like, for example, if I'm making 125 a year, if I go get another job, I better be making 180 because I'm thinking bigger. I'm thinking bigger. Polygamous men think big, and we think only in terms of possibility. You never hear polygamous men say, I don't know about that, man. We can't do that. What do you mean we can't do that? We got 5 people here. We got 10 kids. Yes, we can do that.
Right.
See, so those are my answers to that question.
Yeah, it reminds me of this passage in a portion of Genesis 1:28, God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. In other words, here it is the first charge for this couple: be fruitful and to multiply. So when you said be, right, from the beginning, that was the commandment, that was the order, that was the instruction for us, is to be that. You know,
that was his first instruction to humankind, was to be fruitful and multiply. I call that the prime directive in the nature.
Exactly. And that word multiply is excessive.
Yes.
You know, it's a lot, it's an abundance, right?
You're supposed to have a lot of sex with a lot of women and make a lot of children.
You gotta think big.
You get wealthy. That's
think big. You gotta think big.
That's a command.
Yes.
That is a command.
That's a command. So first thing is follow the command and be right. Yeah.
Yes.
I like that. You was gonna say something, Brother Jeremy?
No, man, I'm just sitting up here soaking it up. We had a couple comments and a couple questions in the comment section here. But to what Brother Hondo was just saying, it struck me because coming from the Western mindset, you would think that it would be mean to go to a woman and to put down her thoughts on polygyny. But really, from what you're saying, it's just telling the truth, and that's how you can rest and just telling her the truth. And the truth of the matter is that your opinion doesn't matter about this, because just like you said, it's my economy. You're entering, as you said, under my banner or under my household. So, it doesn't matter what you think.
Right.
And I actually had to I had to mention that to somebody the other day when she said, "Oh, well, I don't subscribe to that." I'm like, "Well, I do. It doesn't matter what you think about it. If you want to get on with it, then you'll get on with it."
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find that question here for you, brother.
Yeah, somebody had a question above. I see. I lost it now.
I think
you're asking something about head coverings.
Yeah, that was one. I'll find that one.
Okay.
But this was the first one I came across right here from Brother Menelo. He's just asking, what would you say to someone who wants to practice polygyny but are afraid of the pushback from acquaintances or family?
Very easily solvable. So you have to ask two questions. One, does she come from not only a polygamous society, but does her family support polygamy in the first place? Like, does she have polygamists in the family and people are okay with that? If not, if they don't subscribe to either one, or rather they don't subscribe to polygamy, is she close with her family or is she estranged from her family? If she's a mercenary, if she's out here, she's just public property, as one of my elder brothers calls it.
Community property.
What's that?
Community property.
Yeah, I mean, even if she's not sleeping around, it's like you're not close with your family. Like they live in.
Nobody can speak for her. Yeah.
Yeah, these cats live in the Bahamas and you live in China. It's like it's like, well, hold on, So you have to deal with that with kid gloves. One good thing about the Philippines is that everybody knows there are no polygamous men. Everybody knows men who got other women.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm bringing the system, nowadays the girls are giving a little pushback. But shoot, when I had my first consort there, not really. She was like, I'm gonna be your biggest fan. She said, because I at the time wanted to play professional basketball there. She said, well, I'm gonna be your biggest fan. I'm gonna be screaming louder than the other girls. She said, your other girls ain't gonna be as loud as me. She said, but I'm gonna be your number one fan. So she even knew what was up. If I become a famous basketball player in the Philippines, I'm gonna have. She even said herself. She said, you're gonna have other chicks. That's just gonna be what time it is. Okay. So even though her family didn't like that, she was okay with it. And I made sure that I took care of her to the point where it didn't become a problem until it became a problem for them. But she never gave me pushback. I've only had one woman my entire life give me a hard time about me having other women. Once. And that was recent. That was last year. So all this time, all these years, women generally don't give me a hard time about it.
Right.
Even my consort, there, Layla, potential consort there, she said, well, I know you have other women. That's just the way it's gonna be. She says, not something I like. She said, but I mean, you a good guy. She said, so what am I gonna do? Argue with you? And my late counsel told me the same thing.
And see, in that situation, that's a classic example. Either you're gonna lead her or she's gonna lead you, and you're only gonna just have her.
Women don't have to like polygamy in order to be with you. And I know that's a hard thing for brothers to wrap their mind around, because brothers sis, you gotta be, promoting and
right.
They don't gotta like it. They gotta like you, and you are polygamous. But that's one reason why you have to make sure they're secured and taken care of, because that helps to dampen a lot of that insecurity they have. Because if you out here broke and you talking about some, like, we gonna do polygamy, you like, man, whatever, man. I already don't like you being with other chicks, but you broke too. Like, you have to pick a struggle, bro. You either gonna, but
you're helping their argument. You're helping their argument.
Right. Absolutely. And that's something, brothers, that I didn't understand when I first began. Like I said, I was poor. I was very poor when I first, I had all these women I was dating, but I couldn't pull it together because I couldn't throw money into certain projects and things to go do anything. I didn't have a car, didn't have no money, working part-time. I was working part-time. Like, I was working like one day, twice a week. That ain't gonna work. You need to be out here. If you live in the States, United States, or in the UK, if you got two women, you better be making at least 150, at least. And I'm talking about when you can show enough have them at home, and y'all gonna be eating. You got insurance, and you got a couple cars. Your children. That's at the least. So you go to a place like the Philippines, you can make, say, 30, 40,000, and y'all gonna be living like a king. Vietnam, same thing. So most South and East Asian countries are very inexpensive, to live in. Taiwan is probably an exception, and southern China. But nevertheless, you've got to, all of your entire economy has to be on point. So we look at all the facets of economics, right? Economy means, by the way, echo means house. Nomos means knowledge of the house. That's when you say, hey, this is my economy, you're talking about managing your home, right?
Right.
So economics is first industry, which branches off into, it's commerce, which branches off into industry and finance. Okay. Industry is what you make from home. Finance is what you receive from your work at home. Okay. And commerce covers all of that. Commerce, like, you're going to be buying and selling. You make money, buy and sell. Okay. Right. You've got religion. You've got esprit de corps, which is spirit of the body. Okay. That's how you and your family, how you all interact with each other. Okay. Then you have society. That's how you interact with people on the outside. Politics. That's your public image of the members of your household. Okay. You get into sex. That's obvious. Okay. You need to understand the NIDA laws, which are the cleanliness laws in Hebraic culture. You got to understand that. Okay. You have to always wash after you have sex. Don't be laying in it and, yeah, man, we're going to bask in the glow. Don't do that, because you're going to get a disease. That's how disease forms. And I know people like to get all romantic. Yeah, man, we all hugged up. No. Get up and go take a bath. Go take a shower. Okay. That's like a simple tip, but a lot of cats don't get it.
Yeah, no. Or just lazy. Yeah. But
just lazy.
Just lazy.
One thing I noticed about the Philippines, the women there bathe 2 to 3 times a day. One thing about them is strange, because the Philippines has a lot of problems with cleanliness, like the environmental cleanliness. But when it comes to personal cleanliness, and Brother Che, if he's still in the chat, he can attest to this. They are the cleanest women, period. Their bodies are like pristine, like they never smell, and like they, after having coitus, they immediately go bathe immediately. And they'll get upset if you try to keep them in the bed. They practice that, and their mothers teach them that.
Right.
So this is just something to remember. So
this is good stuff. This is good practical stuff. Right? It's one, like I said, we said in the beginning, it's one thing about reading this in the text, reading this in the scrolls, reading this in the manuscripts, reading this in the book, reading it in the Bible. But it's another thing, like, how do you put this in motion? How do you put this in practice? How do you live this out? We have to become practical.
Oh yeah.
You know, in this, it's more than just the theory aspect. It's more than, okay, I got a revelation. How do I do this now? How do I execute this? How do
you
I
have to build a hedge around everybody in that household? Like you got to have your stuff together. And again, I went through years where I was trying to slow poke and try to be cheap and all that. And I had a couple brothers pulling us out like, bro, you better go get some paper. Right. It was like, brother Hondo, don't be out here and say. In fact, one dude was like, man, if you don't plan on being wealthy, you say you need to stop teaching on polygamy. He straight up told me that to my face.
Yeah.
You know, and these are the type of people I have around me, man. They're not gonna. That's why I can't get on these platforms and lie. Like they know me. They've seen me travel. They've seen me with my women before. I can't get out here and just say anything.
Right.
I've been through the storm, and I'm just, when I give advice, you know, it's hard. These are hard won lessons. I still pay for some of those mistakes.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure brothers have a smooth transition. If you're not already a polygamist, because some people listening are probably already polygamous, but I want to try to build these bridges and make sure that we transition into these stages of life with power. And we're always thinking of economic power, which means you have choices and options, not only in women, but you know what? I think we need to get up out of Atlanta. You know, the crime rate is going up. You know, like I moved out of Atlanta as soon as I saw the crime rate go up. I left Atlanta. I just got up and left. Right. You know, because I had just doubled my income, so it gave me a lot more options. Like the whole world opened up. I was like, oh snap! I was like, oh snap! So that's what those zeros look like. I was like, okay, let me get out of here. You know, and I left.
Right.
So not having options. One more thing, brother Mike. I'm gonna apologize. I just want
to. No. Come on, just get it out, man. That's why you're here. We're gonna work you. Go ahead, brother.
You always have to think in terms of, oh, I can see that way down the road. Okay, I need to put a plan in place. And if your women are smart, and most women, if they live with you, especially, they're gonna see you operating. They're gonna be like, okay, I need to get this brother a sandwich because he about to go in. This brother about to 6 months, he gonna go in hard body on whatever he working on. And you start to inform them kind of what you're considering. And for the ladies who are listening, be patient with your man. Like, you know, we don't always want to verbalize everything. We in our head trying to figure this thing out. What do I need to do here? Okay, I need to call those people. Okay, that's a law firm. I need to call them. Now I need to go meet with them. And we have to be alone sometimes to go do our thing. Just give us a sandwich, give us some sex, and sometimes that's what we need. Sometimes that's really all we need is those two things for like 2 weeks. Just give us that so we can go make some money.
Right. Yeah, no, makes sense. Now, you mentioned earlier about having your brothers around you, Brother Jay, Chief Yuya, you having these brothers around you at here. Now, is it important for a polygamous man to be around other polygamous men versus prescriptive monogamous men? In other words, are being around prescriptive monogamous men like cancer?
It's gonna make you weak. It's gonna make you weak. I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna switch off my my camera for a moment. I'm gonna have to shift this around a little bit. I don't think I could actually. I'll just move it over here because I'm charged up now. But you sticking around prescriptively monogamous men is going to poison your economy. Here's why. I don't mean monogamous men. Just because he got one woman, that's fine. That's a difference.
Yeah, there's a difference.
As soon as these brothers start talking about, man, I don't know, baby girl, man, she ain't gonna like that, bro. Nope. He's a simp. No, sir. No. You're either he's gonna have to get up to speed with where you at, and you and the rest of the brothers are at, or you need to abandon that whole association. Because one thing I notice about men who are prescriptively monogamous, they speak in terms of impossibility, and they say, I don't know about that. All these I don't know dudes. And I don't know. No, we're gonna come up with a plan. If we don't know, we're gonna keep that silent. We're gonna mumble that under our breath around each other, and then we're gonna go come up with a plan. Okay, let's go figure out how to do that. There was I try to be friends with people who disagree with polygamy or who are afraid of their wives or afraid of their girlfriends. And bro, you see the fear in their eye. And I'm looking like, dog, you okay? She ain't even here, bro. She 50 miles away. You all right? Oh man, I don't, they start bucking. Their eyes start bucking. You like, bro, this I can't talk to you, man. I can't talk to you because you gonna sap my power.
Yeah.
You know, my women come around you gonna be, oh man, how you do that, man? How you do that? In fact, again, me and the brother Che were building on something. We've been to the Philippines, between us many times, and we sit over here. We talk about how people react to us, especially we brothers, and we got multiple women. The boy, they don't know what to do with us. We're like, dog. They're like, dang, for real? And they don't want to say it. They try not to be rude, but you black too? Because people aren't used to seeing black men whose economies are under control. People expect us to be out here, we slinging dope. We slinging the D. That's all we doing. We just sleeping with a bunch of women. We got eight baby mamas,
Man,
that's what the image of us is. But even though most of us don't do that, So when you start talking about controlling your economy, any man, no matter his ethnicity, you're going to repel other men who don't think you should be doing that. So it's going to turn from a thing of fear into trying to destroy your economy. I've seen that too, and that's you do not want to allow yourself to get cajoled in that scenario. So I just don't hang out with dudes like that. Now, if I just happen to be an acquaintance, I just straight up tell them like, hey man, you just gotta, if you want another woman, you want another woman.
Right.
They losing their breath. I'm like, bro, you act like we in a boxing match. Nobody, you didn't get hit in the liver. Because they literally in their minds, they're imagining their woman talking to them. Yeah. And I'm like, bro, snap out of it. Your woman isn't even hearing the conversation.
Yeah.
She's not even here. Yeah. See, that's gynocracy.
Yeah. Just the thought of her finding out, just the thought of her like that, it just puts them in a panic. Yeah.
Yeah. But look, all of my friends agree with polygamy. I can go right down the list, about 30 brothers. All of them agree with polygamy. Every last one. And a lot of them are polygamous. I say probably almost half of these brothers actually got 2 or more women. I know a brother who got about 5, and it's like, to us, it's normal. It's just like, okay, I need to go get another bottle of coconut water. Okay, I got another woman. I just got another woman. Okay. It is normal. And until men see polygamy as normal, not that everybody is doing it, but that it is just, okay, 10% of us are doing this. Until men see it that way, you're going to have a problem adjusting your mind and your spirit and your bearing and the way you walk with your back straight. You're going to have a hard time with that. So that's why I made sure that as I gained comrades over the years, all of my friends either come from polygamous societies or they have 2 women. I have very, very few who are single. I probably got 2, maybe 3 friends who are single, and even their scenarios are understandable that they're single. Okay, it's not even like they're trying to be. Like one guy, he works twice as much as I do. He doesn't even have time for a relationship. So, but everybody agrees, even those brothers who are single, they agree with polygamy. Like I just don't. Polygamy is just normal to me from age 3 up until now. It's like, bro, we just going to get some coconut water. That's it.
Right.
We just getting some more water, bro. It's okay. You can have another girlfriend too. So when we go to the store, 7-Eleven, that cute Indian sister, yeah, she's single. It's okay. Just coconut water, woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So I noticed in your videos, your writings, your interviews, and through having personal conversations with you that you utilize a systematic approach.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your approach to polygyny as a system? as a system?
Well, all of the spheres, the economic spheres I mentioned, these are spheres of power. You have to, and ironically, Tariq Nasheed, the brother Tariq Nasheed, has a similar something, but I didn't even know he had that until way later. Right. I was already formulating this. I don't want to make people think that one of us.
Now he has that in regards to polygyny, or he has that in
just economics in general.
Economics, okay.
Yeah. I just want to make sure everybody, if you hear his show and he talks about it, none of us are biting off each other. We just happen to have. Right. But I apply it to building a system whereby everything is connected. So all of these spheres of power are directly connected to each other. So if you, for example, let's say if tomorrow, Brother Mike, I start asking you for advice on starting a church, and I decide I'm gonna go back to Apostolic Pentecostalism. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to switch up how I do polygamy a little bit. Like, okay, how am I gonna relate to? Okay, my women are like, some came up in the Catholic Church. I got a couple of Muslims, and like, how am I going to do it? So now I got to switch up. So it's already affecting that.
Right.
It's also going to affect, for example, if I switch religions, it's going to affect how I interact. Let's say I'm doing business with, say, 5 Muslim companies, organizations. Well, what if I'm on the board of one of these organizations? So now I just switched. Now I probably lost some money. You know what I'm saying? They don't want Christians up in their spot. So everything that you do is going to connect to something else. It's actually going to directly impact something else in a heavy way.
Right.
Just for example, when I moved here, I moved to this apartment here. 2 months before that, I called like a company that I worked with before as a contractor, and I said, "Hey, I would like to come back on. Do you got some room for me?" They said, "Yeah." I was like, "But I really need to be home probably half the month."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they said, "Yeah, there's no problem." See, things started to roll together. So now I said, "Oh, now I got time to go finish polygamy as economic warfare." See, so one small decision, now I'm getting more rest. I've actually lost some weight. See, so now I got more energy. Now I got more energy to get another woman because I'm going to make more money. Because now I can start my business. Now that means I'm going to be making more money. See, so as soon as you make one decision, it's like it's a tidal wave building up, coming ashore.
Right.
And you really have to watch. Even you don't want to become overwhelmed with your success. We always want to speak in terms of victory when you're a man in general, whether you're single, monogamous, or polygamous. You need to always speak, think, and write and read in terms of victory. The songs you listen to should never be simp songs. Okay. It should never talk about relationships in terms of pimping and being women being whores, or the frequency is off. You always want to listen to music that is constantly pumping power into your ears. Period.
Right.
If you do anything otherwise, your economy is going to start to fall apart. The people that you run with, those men should always call you up with encouragement. "Hey man, what's going on with you?" "Oh man, Brother Mike, if I call you on the phone," he's like, "Oh man, Brother Hondo, man, I just got this contract, man. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna triple my income." "Bro, that's great, man. Let me know if you need anything." Boom. Now things are starting to roll. So because you linked up, remember, this is society. This is outside of my own household.
Mm-hmm.
Now I linked up with one of the brothers. We're creating a tribe out here. You see, this is very, very important. Everything you do is going to directly impact everything else. Give you an example. I was talking to one of my brothers, and I said, "Man, you notice, have you made any friends in like the last 10 years, like new friends?" He was like, "Oh man, heck nah." He said, "Man, these dudes out here a week." I said, yeah, basically. I haven't made any new friends in probably 5 years. Like everybody I've started corresponding with, guys I know personally, we've known each other between about 5 years and 32 years. That's how widespread the length of time I've known these cats. In fact, the brother that I've known for 32 years, he and I were on the phone a few days ago. He's from Detroit also. And he moved to the city I grew up in when we were younger.
Yeah.
And from the day we met, we were thick as thieves. We played basketball. We talking about girls. Come to find out, this brother always got other women. He's been married almost 20 years. See, I didn't even know he had other women. I thought he was just married to his woman for 15, 16 years.
Yeah.
And no, 16 years. And he was like, no, man. He said, I've been watching your videos for years, man. He said, I've been watching them, even when he and I were out of contact. He said, well, bro, trust me. He started telling me all these stories, like, you know, and I was joking the other day. I said, man, you always got some sister down the street. He said, basically. And we just like laughing because that's how he rolls too. And his wife knows. Right. She was like, don't bring that home. Don't be bringing that home. We got limits. We got hard limits out here.
Right. Right.
So,
right.
But he also has the economy to take care of him, though, right? He also has the economy to move and do things like that.
Yeah. I mean, you know, he's always had a job. He's always worked like he's been like in skilled labor. So you know, he got money. You know what I'm saying? That's never the issue. You know, he can always go on extra dates and things like that. But we're being very simplistic because in an urban environment, it's not going to be always like all the sisterhood and they got head wraps on and they farming and it's not going to always look like that. And I know people talk like that. It's not always going to look like that. However, regarding proximity, as much as possible, you want to have your women either in your home or on the same land. And that's kind of what I was working on before my primary consort, my high consort passed away last year. We were actually starting to look for land with compound. That was a compound. We were looking at different compounds and things like that so we could farm. And she was like, Emmy was like, nah, so babe, I'm down for it. She's like, as long as they don't try to fight me, I'm gonna leave. I'm like, nah, you just don't leave. I was like, wait a minute. She was like, okay, I understand. I'll talk to you if I'm frustrated. She said, I just don't want to argue. She said, because I'm not jealous of your other women. She said, she told me, quote verbatim, just to show you how strong it is. You got to be strong in the force, as they say, right? Star Wars. She said, babe, I don't care if you have 100 girlfriends. She said, as long as they are taking care of you, and when you come home to me, you're not stressed. She said, because your other woman is always stressing you out. She said, whenever I call you and she with you, she said, babe, I know you. She said, that look on your face, I know when she did or said something stupid. She said, I know it. And she's Filipina, both of them Filipina. She said, babe, I don't care if you got 100 girlfriends. When you come home, your face needs to be washed before you get here. They should be washing your face. They should be clipping your nails. They should be cooking you food, and they should be sending you out here with some fruit or something. She said, because you love fruit. If she's, in fact, just a quick story, just to illustrate this. I just come from seeing the other woman, right? The other woman had left. She left my apartment. I sent her actually back to another city. I flew her to another city. See, you need the money. You got to be able to fly your woman in and out if necessary.
Money.
You got to have cash. So,
he did that like his grandfather. You need the money.
Exactly. So I flew the other one out. Now, watch how I coordinated this. So I was getting to know this other woman. The other woman came over and helped me cook. This is this other woman. And she was a virgin too, okay? So she comes over to my apartment and we cooking, okay? We're cooking food, y'all. We're actually literally cooking food. But we're cooking this food, and she left a little later. And my other woman who had just left, I flew her back to Manila. So I was expecting Emmy to come back on Friday, but it's Tuesday going on Wednesday. And I said, hey, Em, when you come back on Friday, make sure you bring the stuff that you got together for the book that we're creating. She said, Friday? You said Wednesday. I mean, she was snapping. And I let my women, you need to allow your women, even if they're angry, they're sad, they need a release valve. Don't always be so stiff where you don't allow them to express themselves. Because she was angry with me. I was like, why is she mad? I was like, what's your problem? She was like, you said Wednesday. I come back Wednesday. She's like, babe, I don't want to wait till Friday. I said, but I want to be by myself for a couple of days. Like, she's like, yeah, but you with your other women. I said, I don't got no women over here. I'm by myself, right? She said, babe, no, Wednesday. And she was with her family. But I said, okay, this is why you need to really know your woman's moves, like how she thinks. I said, I didn't tell her this, never told her this. I said, either her family is stressing her about money, trying to get, because in the Philippines, families be trying, if the girls get a foreign boyfriend or a husband, they trying to get money from this dude.
Oh, yeah.
I knew they were even stressing her about money.
Yeah.
or she just missed me, or both. So I said, babe, okay, hold on. Stay on the line. I got her, I immediately sent her some more money, because the place she could pick up the money from was like, I think about 1 kilometer away, right? I sent her some more money. I said, that's enough for you to do whatever you got to do for the next week or so. I put her on a boat, and she went from one island to my island. And then she came back. I met her at the dock. I actually went to pick her up from the dock. I gave her a hug, gave her a kiss. I said, baby, you all right? Okay, you home? You good? She's like, yeah, you trying to keep me away. She said, I said, no, it ain't like that. So you have to coordinate time. That's another thing. You have to be able to coordinate time. So I was able, because I had resources, I was able to immediately, one woman left, a day after the other one left, and I was able to bring the other one in immediately, just like that. You got to be able to do things like that, you know? And you got to be able to do things like that. So it ended up being good because I was by myself. I was in my own apartment. So it's not a problem. That's why, even if you live communally with other brothers, because I spoke with a brother who is from Sudan, and he said sometime in the Sudan, even if the men are married, the men will share a house, and the family or friends, they'll share a house, but the women, all their wives will be like right across the road or something, and they'll be in the house, and then they spend time in their own rooms or whatever. Sometimes they do that, or they'll have family property. Sometimes they do that. So but it's always good for a man to have his own, whether you rent an apartment, you have a house, land, whatever, because you can start moving pieces around and you can bring them in. So when Emmy got there, we started talking about this communal thing. And she said, that's a great idea. She said, because we can help each other. She said, babe, if you want to have more children, she said, you got 4, 5, 6, 10 women, and we all together, and we taking care of each other. She said, I would love to do that. Right. You have to, guys, it doesn't matter how many women that you date and have sex with. I'm never impressed by guys who sleep with 20 girls. How many of these women are cooperating with you on a high level? That's when I want to talk to these cats. So I just had to go in on that for a minute.
No, that's good. That's good. Is there any more questions from the audience, brothers?
I found the one question that Brother Hondo was talking about earlier, and it was from Dean Garland. Was this it, Brother Hondo? It says, do the girls I court have to be covered from head to toe?
When that depends on the culture that you and your household practice. I know for me, if we're going out among more traditional people, then I have them cover up. But if we just go into the store, especially in like a non-Hebraic, non-Islamic neighborhood, they don't necessarily have to do that. I also factor in, what are they already used to? Okay, if they've been wearing hijabs and long skirts, like, for the last 15 years, then you're going to wear a hijab every day. Okay, we ain't changing that. If the Hebrew sisters, if they wear a head wrap all the time, you're going to wear a head wrap every time, unless we go on a hoop or we going to the beach or we going, okay, then you can take the head wrap off. And even then, you're still going to dress very conservatively, even though you got to go swimming or you're going to play sport, you know. So the certain customs and manners is going to depend on the customs and manners that you set. Because you remember, the esprit de corps, that's the culture that you're practicing in your home and how you interact with each other. I know that I actually like my women to look kind of not alluring to every man, but I like dudes looking at them and say, "Hey, she's y'all saw Leia,
right?
She's cute. You know what I'm saying? Very soft features. So it's I like my women attractive. So she tends to only, most of the time anyway, she wears skirts anyway when she's on her own. She doesn't wear a lot of tight clothes and things like that, revealing. She doesn't dress like that. She wasn't dressing like that when I met her. So this is what I'm talking about. You have to factor in all the things I just mentioned and more. And every man is gonna have his own metrics about how he determines the dress code for his home. And by the way, dress code is something that I teach in the next book. I have a whole chapter on dress code. So that question will be delved into even further in the book. But always have a dress code prepared. That way you can teach whoever's coming into the home, like, this is this is actually how we dress. Like everybody sees me in polos. I've been in outside of a polo shirt maybe in 1 or 2 videos in the last 15 years. This is my uniform. And you know, when women show up, if I, for example, again, if I attend Brother Mike's home, or if I attend Brother Jeremy's home, Brother Noah's home, we should already know how you dress so that we can conduct ourselves accordingly. Like Brother Jeremy, if y'all in jeans and t-shirts, you know, I'm gonna ask you, like, you know, is it required for us to wear, you know, for the women to be dressed a certain way? For myself, if you say, nah, man, it's jeans and t-shirts, I'm gonna have them wear probably some jean skirts and some t-shirts. That goes into having a tribe also, tribalism. You have to know whenever you go into another man's home how they conduct themselves so that you can adjust accordingly.
Right.
So yeah, that's my answer to that question. But like, you know, you saw my lady she was garbed up.
Yeah, she's dressed up. Yeah. That goes into what, and also, Brother Hondo, what you speak about in your videos about it depends on the type of culture that they have, or type of culture that they come from. And I know from watching your videos, you also speak about how it's best to be low key. You know, you don't want to be in the situation as a polygynist or polygamist, and you know, you're drawing attention everywhere you go. Mm-hmm. Like everywhere you go, you got 10 women on your arm.
That's correct.
You know, and they're dressed extravagant when you're in a situation, say like the Philippines, where everybody isn't, you know, don't have access to dress extravagant.
Yeah, correct. And you bring up a great point because, you know, for example, I noticed, I guess, as I was growing into manhood and into polygamy, I started observing, like, you know, a lot of wealthy men, if they have, you know, a so-called mistress, but technically a mistress is the lady master of the house or the wife or the high consort. But in modern parlance, urban parlance, then, you know, a lot of times if he has a girlfriend or a mistress, they might be seen out. If he just bold, they're bold like that. But most of the time you don't. If that man is well known, he's like the head of a corporation, like, you know, yeah, I got a girlfriend. Like, you know, some people know that's my girlfriend, but, you know, everybody don't know that. Right. You know, we ain't parading around like, yeah, it's me, my wife, my mistress, you know, we hugged up, you know, we all on the polygamy groups and all that stuff. Like, bro, it's like, nah, man, nah, you need to be discreet. Because that woman if she works for the state, if she's like, you know, if she's an attorney, she's like the DA or something.
Yeah,
you ain't gonna fly. Like, yeah, girl, we gonna do this polygamy thing. Because one thing about the men in the community, there's an issue where we try to be hard body about everything, and there's no flexibility. You have to be flexible in polygamy. That's the great thing about polygamy. You can literally mold this thing how you want it to look. So if one of my girlfriends is the DA of say, I don't know, Marion County in Florida, and, you know, my main wife is very demure, she's at home taking care of the kids, but I'm kicking it with the DA. Most DAs have low-key lifestyle anyway, because they're prominent figures. Y'all can kick it, you know? Okay, your wife at home most of the time anyway. People see you at the grocery store, but they don't see you like at the gala. You know, your one wife ain't like that. You know, she be jobbed up. Most of the time, they're not going to appear like that unless you live in an Islamic culture where people show up to the gala and the ball like that. See, I'm trying to give the men and the women listening and watching, like, the understanding that you have to be flexible. It's okay if you're a prominent person and you have, you know, your man is even more prominent, ladies. You know, that's okay. You can adjust it. Just talk to them. Just say, hey, okay, so how we gonna do this? And like I said, don't ever tell her that you don't know. Like, you know what? Here's the plan. Like, I always got a plan. I rarely ever tell my women they gotta wait. When I do, I tell them to give me 48 hours. But I usually already got an idea of anything they ask me. Hey, so when you come home? Oh, I'll be there in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, cool. All right, well, we'll be here. Well, I'll tell dad and mom and my cousin and everybody that you're coming back. Okay, cool. Hey, what we gonna do about this? Do we need to go to the store? Oh yeah, here's some money. I already know how much to give them. You gotta be like this.
Right. Yeah. Tony Smith asked this question. He says he asked, do the wives share their finances? So in other words, are the finances of the respective wives, is it a good thing to have their finances be pooled into the economy of the home? Is that a good practice? I guess that's
and that can be answered a couple of different ways. Number one, the best thing to do is to be a high income earner or to move toward that goal as a man.
right.
But this depends on if you have children, how many children you got, how old are they, what are their needs, do they have extra needs because they grow fast or because there might be any disabilities present.
Needs, right? Special needs, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If there's any disease present, how many vehicles do you need? How many women do you have? How much do you need to take care of your own needs as a man? Like all these things are going to come into play. But ideally, women should not be in the regular workforce. Okay. Skilled trades aside, if she's a doctor, even now, I mean, you can be a doctor. There's things you can do from home to make 200K. You know what I'm saying? These doctors are diagnosing people from their laptop.
Right.
She should have a clinic or she should be working from home. Females who work in the medical field are known for sleeping around. So you don't want your woman, especially if she's fine, you don't want your woman around a bunch of high-powered men, even if you high-powered. You don't want, she up here sleeping with Steve, Dr. Stevenson or something like that. You don't, it's always best to keep your women out of the spotlight and out of the workforce as much as possible. She shouldn't be working at a factory.
Right.
Even y'all don't have children. She shouldn't be working at the factory.
Right.
Right. And if you do, you better make that temporary. Like you tell her, babe, we got 90 days. You pulling about that job. You let them know when that last 30 days come up. You let them know you out of here at the end of August.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, that's how you play that because you don't want them trying to plot and scheme against to get her out of there and have her replaced if it's a money thing. But you should already have a plan. I'll give you an example. So before my consort passed, before Emily passed away, she was an herbalist. Okay, she was an herbalist. She had over 100 plants cataloged in her head. Mm-hmm. And she knew the names of the plants like in 5 to 7 different languages. I was like, wow. And I found this out by mistake. And this is a money thing. So I'm answering this question. You, in the beginning, you always ask a woman, hey, what skills do you have? And she says, well, I've been an admin for about 8 years, and I was working, she might say, well, I worked with Exxon. I was like in XA. I was an executive assistant for 8 years. Oh, really? See? So boom, now you got your admin at home. You can just send her home. She don't need to be working with Exxon no more. Okay. She can do that from home. If you want her to have a job, instead of helping you in a business or doing both, you can do XA work from home now. Like these not personal assistants, but executive assistants. And I've applied for those jobs before because I used to do office work. XAs can work from home now. You can get her additional office administration certifications. They have a bunch of them now. Like now, it's not good enough for you to you've done this before. You can get certifications. You add that to that, and now she's working in the home because some women I've met, they love doing paperwork. I don't know why, but they love filing stuff and arranging
organizational. Yeah.
They love that. So you have to look at that. But going back to a personal situation, just to give you an example. So we were out walking one day and we were way off in the cut. I rented this house and it was I'm talking, when I say in the woods, we was out in the weeds literally, right? And we walking down the road and she looks at, oh, babe, this is oregano. I'm like, dang, oregano just grow wild like that? She's like, yeah. She said, look, she started spinning in her finger. She said, you know what this does? I was like, oregano, we put that on pizza.
You make the pizza taste better, right?
Yeah. She said, no, babe, no. Basil can heal your ear. Like if you have your ear is clogged up. I said, really? She said, yeah. She said, you can't hear in your ear. At the time, my ear had been stopped up for like 3 weeks. I couldn't hear. I had lost probably 95% of my hearing. He said, babe, when we get back from down the road, I'll hook you up. I'll take care of you. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, that's kind of dope. I didn't know she was like that. So I'm finding out all this stuff about her. We walked probably 1.5 kilometers, and this woman was stopping me every 20 meters. Babe, you see that plant? That's what that does. Oh, by the way, that will increase a woman's chances of becoming pregnant. But if you add a little bit more of a dosage, a higher dosage, it will kill the baby. She said, so you don't want to ever give your women that. She said, if you want to impregnate your other girlfriends, give them this, but they can only take. Then I forgot the amount she told me. So anyway, we were doing this the entire time I'm in the Philippines. We traveled to a whole bunch of different places. Every island we went to, she stopped me, right? So we get back. She burned that oregano, squeezed the juice of it, dripped it in my ear. This was a year ago. My ear still just pops stuff out of the ear. Like I was like today, for example, I was walking back to prepare for the interview. I was out about a mile away here. I'm walking and stuff just popped out of my ear. And I'm like, still cleaning my ear out. That had never happened before. But she's laid me down, put it in my ear, and she sat it there for 2 hours. It's soaked. Then she did the other side. And she said, babe, just wait. So I was like, next day, I'm like, dang, nothing happened. I just feel liquid in my ear. She said, just wait. So the next day we were out somewhere and my ear just popped. And I was like, oh, snap. To this day, I remember when I got back to the United States, I could hear everything. I mean, it was like Superman here.
In new ears.
Yeah, yes. So I said, hey, you know what? I got an idea. When my ear unclogged, I said, how many herbs do you know, like plant medicines do you know in your head, like without looking it up? She sat there, she said, about 100. I said, you got 100 plants and herbs in your head? Yeah. I said, okay, I'll tell you what, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make some money. She said, what do you mean money? You mean you want me to go back to work? I said, no. I said, I'm going to write a book. You're going to give me the information from these herbs. I said, I want you, when I go back to the States, in fact, before I go back to the States, I want you to start gathering herbs, get some paper. I want you to put these leaves, gather these leaves together, and I want you to write the names of these things in English, and then write the languages, all the names of the plants, every language that you know. She said, okay. Don't you know within a week, because I sent her back to her family's estate. She goes back there. I mean, 3 days passed. I had a stack of papers like this with leaves and stuff. And she said, babe, look, she's in the video call. Look, I got this. I'm seeing all the names. She said, this is what this one does. This one does. So I was going to catalog that. I've only seen one book on the internet that's on Filipino herbalism. So it would have been Hondo Solomon and Emmy Solomon. And I was going to give her 50% of the profit. So I'm giving you the reasons, like the ways rather that you can make money. You take your woman's skill set and you combine it with your skill set. And now you build a business. So that would have taken me probably a month, maybe 30 days to write. And she was doing the groundwork. So I said, whenever we get paid from this book every month, I'm going to give you half of that. And you just keep that money because you did half the work. She said, okay, babe. Do you want me to go back to my old job? I said, you were very demanding. You want to go back to your job when I'm not here. I said, that's fine. She said, even if that means I quit every job that I start, whenever you come back home, I'll quit my job. She said, because you're my husband. I'm supposed to serve you. And she always called me her husband whenever she would introduce me. And then when I overheard her one day, I was about probably, 30 feet away. She was talking with her family. She's like, yeah, well, my husband, he does. She never called me her boyfriend, never. And I never told her to do that. So this is what I mean also. If the woman was really into you, she's going to start to level up and get on this plane of existence where it wraps around you. She even went to go apply for another job while I was here. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, hey, can you start on such and such a day? She said, well, you know what? I'm going to have to talk to my husband about that, because he really doesn't want me to live this far north. He would rather me work further south. I was like, wow. So you always combine your powers. When you're in a polygamous setting, you always combine your powers. Whatever she's good at, you take that and you combine forces. And then you become powerful. And that's when you start having multiple sources of income. You put in the work initially, and then you work it less and less. And then you can hire outside staff if you want to, or you can keep hiring people who are within your tribe or your clan.
Yes. Yeah. Duplicate, multiply. Yeah. Be fruitful and multiply, right?
Yep. So there's no need to go out here and have them working outside the house and all that, unless it's a skilled trade. But even then, you got to be real touchy about that.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Now we know your book, The Polygamous Papers, was the book that you did back in 2013. And you mentioned earlier about the book that you have coming out in February 2025 is your target debut. Could you kind of like give us a brief synopsis or rundown or projection of what's going to be inside the book?
I'll put it like this.
Just not necessarily, so much, because I know there's certain things you just want people to be able to get when they get the book, but basically if you could just give a summary of what it is that you what do you want to accomplish with this book? Let's put it that way.
This book is teaching on how to engage in polygamy in a modern context. That's in a nutshell. That's what it is. It stretches you from your upbringing. It takes you all the way, even how to deal with death and even going into older age. Because we got a lot of the brothers who are elders, and they're like, wow, they're just discovering polygamy, or they knew about it, but they didn't really know how to do it. They're in a different stage of life. I mean, I'm in a different stage of life. When I started teaching, this was almost 20 years ago now, So it takes you through the problems. I actually have a chapter on building contingency plans. What if one of your women, I can't do this no more, and she leaves? What are you going to do? Okay. Yes, it's okay for you to cry about it because you were bonded with this woman, right? But what are you going to do? How do you prevent yourself from being taken, having your assets taken? That's what the trust is for. See, that's what the trust is for.
Exactly. Protection.
Nobody can take your trust. If you set it up where your trust is only paying you, say, I don't know, $50,000 a year, but obviously you making 10 times that, then nobody's going to touch that. They're going to be like, okay, well, what if you get on child support? What are you going to do? Well, I only make $50,000, but guess what? Me paying $2,000 a month ain't nothing compared to what my trust makes.
Right.
See, so you protect your assets like that. We talk about that. We talk about how you're supposed to think if you're 18, 19, and you're an athlete, and the NBA is looking at you, and you're like, okay, these women are coming to me left and right. How am I going? I'm going to Missouri, University of Missouri, and they looking at me already. The league's looking at me. What am I going to do? Because I got like 10 women trying to get on board. You better pick one or two good ones and you roll with that, but you need to set up a trust. I don't care if you're from the hood. I don't care what country you're from. I don't care if you balling out of control, because there's some men who are rich and they don't have a trust. They just riding on their money. Who does that a lot? Who don't have a trust? Doctors. A lot of doctors. These men, because I think orthopedic surgeons make about $1 million and up. Okay, if he's busy. And a lot of these guys, they just ball. They just rich, but they deep in debt, and they don't have a backup plan. So they get married to these women, and these women take them. And now this dude paying her alimony, $10,000-$20,000 a month. It's like, nah, G, I'm a doctor, but I got a trust, so I only make about $200K. My trust pays you $200K. Okay, well, I'm gonna give her this little $3,000, and pardon me, she's gonna get some strange illnesses playing around with another man's economy. And these women who sabotage marriages, if you observe them over the course of a few years, they always getting up with these strange illnesses. It'd be weird, but that's a curse. You can't sabotage marriages and then expect to just go extract the man's resources that the creator gave him the power to make.
Exactly.
And you walk away. So that's also a warning to women who are listening, who are like, yeah, you know, if I get in this, can I just leave? Women will ask you that.
Believe with the bag, right?
Can I just leave if I don't like polygamy? If I get in this, I can't take it. Well, yeah, you can leave, but you're gonna leave my kids and you're gonna leave my money. Okay.
There you go.
Period. So this is also why you have NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. But we have all that in the book. I even talk about how to deal with death in the family. I've had more than one member of my household pass away. So I know what that feels like.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to regroup. Like when my late consort passed, she was my main consort. I mean, we already had our hands in a lot of stuff. So, you know, I had to recover from that. And my other consorts don't specialize in those things she specialized in. But thankfully, my other one, she knows how to farm. You know, she actually knows how to farm. So that's something that we actually discussed the other day. We talk about that. What happens when you're the polygamous man? You're approaching your 90th year and you're in your last stage of life. How do you conduct yourself? What if you still have one wife left? You had 3 and 2 passed away. One of my mentors, the one who's from Northern Eritrea, he had 3 wives. 2 of his wives passed away. He has 1 left. And I believe now he's probably in his mid 60s, you know. So these are things that he actually helped me to kind of get through and to discuss. And then, you know, of course, he's well known in his academic field. You know, he teaches history and linguistics, things like that. The book is very heavy with application. Every chapter is, in fact, if we're counting the sub chapters, I have 30 chapters and 360 sub chapters total. So this book is going to be about 400 pages. So y'all gonna have to sit down and hash it out. And I'm going to be constantly.
It's a manual for application, right?
It is. It's a manual on what to do. You know, what do you do if you have a child with the woman that and y'all broke up and she hasn't been with another man and y'all are considering getting back together? What do you do about that? Like, okay, what is it gonna look like? I gotta switch this up. You know, I can't do things the same way as I did last time. What happens when you are entering into a polygamous scenario and you are already on child support or you got alimony? What are you gonna do? What if she gonna get mad and try to ruin you? See, you need that trust. So, like I said, I came up with all of the I came up with the table of contents actually back in 2013. I've just been sitting on these ideas because I had to grow as a man and I had to learn some things. I had to make sure I was like, I can't be presenting this to the brothers and I don't got nothing going on. That's one reason I waited. Everybody like, man, why are you taking so long to write the book? I want to make sure when I present this to you all that you all can say, oh yeah, man, Hondo did that. You know, he actually did that. Like we remember, we saw him when he did that, or we remember when like there were witnesses to what he did, to what he accomplished. So that's a big reason why I waited. Like, you know, I had to have my own place. I can't be telling y'all to go out and get some land. I don't got no land.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. And I also wanted to get a better crop of women too. I had to stop dealing with some of the women I was dealing with, and I had to get women who are very soft and warm and feminine, and they're not giving me a hard time. Like the women I have now never give me a hard time. Like it's very peaceful, you know. There's something else I wanted to say about that book. Oh, when it debuts, I'm going to have a special edition that's going to be leather bound. And that one's actually going to have like a family tree in the beginning where you can start marking your family tree. You can outline your family tree. It's going to have a dedication page that you create yourself. And then, but the regular edition will be just a large paperback. This, like I said, this book is going to be 300 to 400 pages when I finish it. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty dope. I've got a foreword from Brother Che. He's writing the foreword. I got Master Yada again writing one of the forwards. I've got an author's introduction for myself. I have a guest introduction from one of the scholars. I'm trying to get a Dr. Dixon Spear who wrote "We Want for Our Sisters What We Want for Ourselves." I'm trying to get her to do the guest introduction. I actually had the honor of meeting Dr. Dixon back in 2013 as well. I sat in her office at her the university she teaches at, still teaches at. And it was an honor. You know, she's been on the polygamy thing for 30, 35 years or something. I mean, it's been a long time. She's been doing.
She's a pioneer of pioneers.
Well, okay. She's one of the, as people say, she's one of the OGs. You know, in the space. And what's funny is when I'm sitting in her office, I'm telling her about my book. She said, "What's the name of your book?" I was like, "Well, you know, it's called The Polygamous Papers." She said, She said, "Your last name is Solomon." She said, "Hondo Solomon." She said, "Wait, I think I've heard of you." And I'm all geeked. I'm like, "This is Dr. Dixon." I'm all geeked. I'm like, it's like, yeah. I think I've seen you around Facebook somewhere. You know, she's like, I think you got videos on YouTube. I said, yeah. She said, huh. And she actually invited me to co-author a blog with her at that time. I don't know if she ever started it. I don't think she did, but she was trying to get me to co-author a blog. This back in 2013. So I was very honored by that. Things like that always keep me up, you know, and keep going. And even being on shows like this where the brothers are chiming in. And I don't know if any of the sisters are in here, but it's a thing where, you know, of course, honor is given where it's due. But I mean, there's a lot of people, even some of my brothers in my circle, like, they showed me the way for certain things. Like one of my brothers taught me more about finances. He said, "Here's what you do. Here's your sales funnel," because he was in sales for 25 years, and he led a division in Atlanta. He was very like top shelf when it comes to that. So you always ask your brothers when you don't know something. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be so prideful that then you say, "I got this." You don't got this.
Right. Speaking of asking, you said you were going to do it towards the end.
Yes.
What books would you recommend for the brothers?
Biblical studies. I told you about the book called Mikra. There's another one called Ruach Kadim. Ruach Kadim, and that's by Andrew Gabriel Roth.
Andrew Gabriel Roth.
Yes.
Kadim.
Yes. But before we continue, before we end at some point,
we got a few more what's the names after this, but yeah.
Okay. I want to make sure I give a word to the sisters too. I don't want them to feel like they left out. I really want to encourage.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure whether because I'm not really looking at the comment section. Did you see any sisters in the comment section? Oh yeah, we got Sister Jim.
We got Jim. Yeah.
Jim.
She said a sister here. Yeah.
But as far as books are concerned, also, I'm actually going to pull them up because I actually pulled up a lot of them. These are these other books, ones I've actually read here. Let's see. Plural Marriage for Our Times, A Reinvented Option, and that's with a question mark. That's by the late Professor Philip L. Kilbride.
Okay.
Yep. And there's another one there's a series called Joseph Smith's Polygamy. And there are 4 volumes to that. It's red and gold. These are some pretty big, these are pretty large books. I mean, those are books you want to sit down and study. Of course, we have Dr. Dixon Spears, Dr. Patricia Dixon. Well, it's Patricia Dixon she goes by now. But we want for our sisters what we want for ourselves. And you've got Our Kind of Polygamy, highly recommended book. I love that book. It was one of my favorite books I've ever read. It's called Our Kind of Polygamy by Dr. David G. Mailou, Maillu. And I'm going to look up this other book. I know the title. The other book is by Sobonfu Some. Sobonfu Some, Sobonfusome, called The Spirit of Intimacy, Ancient African Teachings in the Ways of Relationships. There's another book called Bigamy in Nigeria by Okey, Okey, and last name is Eni. Bigamy in Nigeria. There's another book called Enduring Polygamy by Bruce Whitehouse. Those are some of my favorites. I definitely recommend the ones by Andrew Gabriel Roth. Oh, also, there is a book. Let's see. There's a book by Frank Viola. He is a name in the house church movement. Okay, Frank Viola.
But yeah.
pagan Christianity. I mean, I was like, wow, okay, well, that's heavy. That's heavy.
Yeah.
But he's written, I think, nearly a dozen books on the house church movement and how the original church did not operate like they do now. That's very relevant regarding the initial part of our discussion.
Yeah.
I also recommend the Lamsa Bible, Lamsa, the Lamsa Bible. And that's its informal name. The formal name is the Holy Bible from the Ancient Eastern Text. That's the formal name, the Holy Bible from the Ancient Eastern Text.
All right.
Shalom, Pastor Rufus. I see Pastor Rufus is in the building. Shalom,
Shalom, Brother Rufus.
And Sister Jim Mars said, I try to stay low key on Master.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, sis. You know, I always see you popping up in the comments somewhere, you know, in the circle. So we appreciate
you. Be going hard. Yeah, hard body, right?
yeah. So we thank you for being here. But those are some of the best books I've read. Also, the King James Bible actually has nearly 30,000 scribal errors. So I know some people are purists, but you have to remember that when King James commissioned actually 54 scholars, most people would teach 47, but that's at the end. Though some of those scholars had died and some had left the commission, but he started with 54 scholars in 1604. By the time the book was published the Bible was published, the King James Bible was published in 1611. He went from 54 scholars down to 47 scholars. And that Bible, though, because they were not native speakers, remember, these people were not getting native speakers to translate these Bibles, okay? But you do have some better versions out there. There's one called the Modern King James Version. The Modern King James Version. If you want to stick to the King James, but you don't want like the Elizabethan English, it actually corrects some of the translation errors as well. Yes. You also want to get the Coptic Bible. You want to get something that has all the other books, because in the books of Adam and Eve, for example, it tells you that Adam had multiple wives. It actually outlines it right there. It straight up tells you. Yeah. And Lilith was his first wife. Eve was his second wife. Yeah. So all of your goddess cults, even when they center around Eve, they stem from Lilith. All the rebellion, the feminism, all of that is Lilith. Medusa, the whole imagery of Medusa in Greek mythology, that comes from Lilith.
Yeah, the big book now everybody's talking about the Ashraf. I think it's this book right here. We have it. It's like a book club reading in the telegrams. It's called
that's the new one that came out.
Yes, a new one. Yeah, Ashraf Jacob Folk.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Rob Kowalski just interviewed him not too long ago.
Yep. Yeah. I've heard of him, and I actually saw part of that interview. Yeah, that's a thick book. I'm actually gonna get that. I've got Pete's book too. I got Pete Ramble's book.
Pete's book. Yeah, Pete's book. And definitely this book right here. You don't want to
right.
Get that book right there.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to get down. And y'all, when you go on Amazon, if you would, I'm going to ask everybody to do something with this book. Please buy this book and encourage your friends, acquaintances, family members, enemies to buy it. When you do buy it, you read it, please drop a review on Amazon. It currently is rated 4.6 out of 5 stars, and it's got 112 reviews thus far. But I want to increase that to thousands of views. And if you would also, if you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, please drop a video review of the Polygamous Papers. Say, hey, go out and get the Polygamous Papers. If that's all you say, that's cool. Because what that does, it builds an algorithm. It helps me out. And hey, you know, I can retire from whatever it is that I do half a month, you know.
I hear that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I do. Oh, you know what? That's something I can address at the end. Go ahead, Brother Mike.
Yeah. All right. So, what would you say is next for Hondo moving forward? Then.
I'm kicking with my consorts. I'm actually about to go see them very soon, and making more money, making even more money. Like that's something. While we have our youth, we want to make money, because when we're in our 50s, you really want to start winding that down. You don't want to be out here grinding. You don't want to be out here like, throwing bricks when you're 55. Like, you need to chill out, because that construction is hard on the body. I used to work construction too. It's hard on the body, man, even when you're young. So you want to definitely pick things up with the economics. That's what I'm doing.
Yes, you do.
That's really what I'm focused on. Like, I've been here at home for, I think I've been here about 10 days now, and I've been relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
It felt good to just come in, sit at home and read a book, work on polygamy as economic warfare. I did that a little bit. And also, I have a new program called Polygamy PhD. That's going to be our training program. And it's a lot more formal than what we have here when I do interviews, because it's going to be tailored to each man. I will not be teaching one-on-one to women. If a sister is interested in having her husband or a man, her master, or lord, or boyfriend, whoever, come in, then I will be glad to teach both. I will also have staff, and they will also be providing some of these consultations. And it will eventually move into providing you with a written form that will deal with the things that you send to us. There will be a pre-assessment form. We'll get your age, what it is you're looking for, and we will send that information back to you. That's the end goal with that. So, but I've got some other brothers who are going to step in as consultants. And of course, I will be providing some of the consultations as well. But Polygamy PhD, I've already got the URL. I'm going to have a website up soon. And, of course, it's paid. That's something that I can do, and I can feed my economy. But you will always have a very professional grade experience with us. And you will have a follow-up call as well for 15 minutes. If you all have any issues with it, I'm always going to take your feedback, because I want to make sure that it's on point. I want to make sure people are actually enjoying it. I want to make sure you have an experience with that. And if there's any suggestions, always, just let us know. But Polygamy PhD will be the first of its kind. I mean, I've heard of a couple other people who are kind of, they don't really make a lot of videos, but they have something but it's not like mine. It's not like the one that I forged. And it's going to be very thorough. Now, as it stands, I actually provide consultations. So if you all would like a consultation, my email address is gohondo@icloud.com. Very simple. gohondo@icloud.com. No periods, no spaces, no dashes. gohondo@icloud.com. Simply contact me. Let me know when you would like your consultation. I will send you a pre-assessment form, and we will require half up front, and then the other half sometime before, or you can just pay the entire amount within 48 hours before the consultation. I do block off that time. I do not take phone calls during the consultation. These are 2 hours by video. We record those, and then we send you the video so that you can download it and you can have it at your leisure. You can watch it, review it, and you will always receive a follow-up call within 7 days. That phone call will be 15 minutes, and that's to make sure that you are able to begin implementing those things, because we try to have you expedite how quickly you begin to implement those principles. And if you have any other questions during that time, you can ask during that follow-up phone call. But we always want to make sure that you had a good experience. We don't have a rating system, but we do ask that you send us an email. Of course, we will have your email once you send the pre-assessment form. We'll be sending you a form asking about your thoughts and opinions regarding the consultation, because again, it doesn't matter how many of these I do. I want to make sure that in everybody's eyes, you have a stellar high-class experience with my current program, as well as with Polygamy PhD. And I will also have Polygamy PhD in all my social media as well. So hopefully that sounds good to y'all, and it's something that y'all will utilize.
Yeah. What was that in the background?
That was I received a message. I thought I turned it off here.
We can Pianist over. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, hopefully everybody will utilize that. You know, be free to contact me. Sunday through Friday. Remember, I take Shabbat off. I will not be doing consultations on Shabbat, but I will be available, and my staff will be available anytime between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. So we do have a wide range of times, because remember, these consultations are going to be 2 hours, and we ask that if you do want your consorts, if you're a man, you want your consort or consorts to be in, and any children of yours who may be 18 and up, they are welcome to join those calls. If you are a woman and you would like a consultation, I'm going to probably have to get a staff member, and I have a couple of women in mind to provide those consultations for the women if they're solo. But I do suggest that even if you have a man of interest, find out if he's interested in receiving a consultation, because I had a consultation with a brother who's his potential second wife actually came in on the call with him, but not his main wife. So we're open to different configurations, but we want to respect the different sexes that we have. We want to respect that. We want to make sure that we segregate men and women, so that we're not causing any form of disrespect to the sisters.
Right. Important protocol. Yeah, definitely. All right. So in a short documentary and on the life of Hondo, right? What would you want folks to know and remember about you the most?
Well, regarding, I guess because we're here talking about discuss polygamy, I never claim to be perfect in that I've mastered absolutely everything that I know to do. There's some things that there's probably 5% of what I know. I just don't have the resources to do that yet. Like, that's actually literally going to take me, I'm going to have to level up quite a bit. The people who know me personally, they've seen me cry, bleed. I've failed. I've done the wrong thing. I've done the right thing. And I believe that's one reason why people do follow my work, because I'm a realist about it. I don't try to present myself as like, yeah, man, I got 15 wives and 100 kids and we billionaires out here. It's not like that. I remember when I was homeless. I remember that. And I knew about polygamy, but I remember I was homeless. I didn't have anything. And I had to climb up out of a lot of personal issues I had to climb up out of that. And I had to get a wider view. So also understand a lot of times, when y'all contact me, social media, by phone, email, we meet in person, I've been through some of the stuff y'all been through.
Right.
I've seen that, and it can get ugly out here, but it can also be the most joyous experience that you've ever had. Okay. It can be joy. When you're sitting there, you sit with one of your women, y'all building, y'all writing books, and you think coming up with business ideas, you putting, her meal plans in grocery stores and all that. It's a very, very joyous experience. So I want people to remember me as, and think of my work as something which is very timely, is relevant, and is accurate. Those three things are very important to me. And that's why I always make sure that, if there's something that doesn't it doesn't make any sense, just people can always contact me. But yeah, my email address is open. I always check my emails. I do respond to all emails. And one of my consorts, actually, she's going to be, I'm thinking about having her handle that. I might just hire somebody outside. That's another thing too. Some things you want outsiders to handle. You don't want your women to handle. Right. So, because it keeps things neutral. But yeah, that's kind of what I want people to know about me, is that I've taken a journey so that you wouldn't have to take it. I don't want people to experience the vast majority of what I've experienced to get the information that y'all got today. I don't want you to go through that, because it's a headache.
Yeah, that's real.
It's a headache. And you're going to lose a lot of time, energy, and money. And by all means, please find someone. If you find an elder who's knowledgeable about life in general, ask them, can you sit up under them? Because I still got elders that I go to. They still call me. I still call them. So, but that's what I would like people to remember. And remember the things that we said today. And watch my YouTube channel. Most of those videos are very old, but you know, I was on my journey. I was having a difficult time, but yeah, just remember that that accuracy, timeliness, and I want you to remember to have fun on this journey of polygamy. Everything ain't that serious, y'all. I know we make it sound like it, man. Dang, this sounds depressing, you know. But it's very fun. We only discussed the structure today. We didn't get into the fun, like the more joyous aspect. But once you build that structure, it's like when you go buy a piece of property, right? One of the first things you do is you build a fence around the property so that you can then go construct things and nobody's stealing your stuff. Nobody's coming on the property. They're taking copper wire out of your house. You know, and they stealing your construction equipment. You're stealing your equipment. You want to have a fence around it. So you're doing the same thing here. You're protecting yourself as a man. And for you ladies, you want to protect yourself as well. You want to get the best and brightest man that you can get to in order to do this.
Right.
That's something I want to tell the women. Don't ever think this thing is not joyful. It really is. We just talking about the serious stuff today because you have to have those things in place or else you're not going to have fun. It will not be fun at all. I tried to do it before and I didn't have my stuff together. And your women are going to make fun of you.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to get joned, okay? You are going to get joned out here. So don't do this without having the right attitude. And for the ladies, one last thing to the ladies. There are some men out here who are purposely trying to use and abuse the system to and end up mistreating the women. But most polygamous men that I've ever known my entire life, even when they did the wrong thing, it wasn't purposeful. It was out of ignorance. See, ignorance just means you don't know. You have no idea.
Right.
And just understand, ladies, we're not perfect either. Like, you know, perfection is a journey. And we're still learning things as we go along. Some of us have been in this space like myself. I've been in the culture for decades, but there's still stuff I'm looking. Sometimes I'm thinking like, "Damn, how am I going to get that done?" That's going, you know. And we're trying. And if you have an idea, ladies, go to your man with it. Be like, "Hey, you know, I know that you've been stressing over something, but you know, I found out some information. Maybe you might want to implement this in what we were discussing the other day." Just go to them. Most men are going to look at that and be like, "Dang, I'm glad she came up with that idea because dang, that just saved me about 4 years of time." Yeah. We will thank you for that. Trust me, we will reward you even if we don't verbalize it. Right. You will end up being treated better. We will also hold you in higher regard when we see you are trying to save us time, energy, and money, because that's going to end up having you be in the annals of our family histories for eons. They still gonna be talking about you 500 years from now. See,
that's right.
So I just want to encourage the women, just be patient with this, as well as, you know, we're patient with you as we get to know you, especially when you're starting out. And try to be friendly toward each other when you're dealing with the other women. You know, and the man may not even have y'all interact that much, but even if you're in the same household, especially, just be at peace. Just because that woman looks better than you, for example, don't mean nothing. That man likes you. He thinks you cute. Okay. Right. As long she can think she's a model and you're nothing. It don't matter. That man think you cute. He wants to smash. Okay. That's all that matters. At the end of the day, he smiles when he sees you. That's all that matters. He gives you a warm hug and a kiss every day. That's all that matters. No, who cares the other woman is jealous? You can still make it work. You're going to have to talk with that other sister. Be like, "Hey, look, we could be cordial, though. We got the same man." Just talk to him. And overall, just enjoy that man. Because men are very complex. We're very complex. And we don't talk about those complexities with our women much. But just give them a hug sometimes. Just walk up to them, give them a hug. Just tell them you care about them. Tell them you love them. And just, you know, just make him a sandwich. You know he like roast beef sandwiches with some cheddar cheese on it. It's melted in the oven. Just give that to him. Don't complain. Just give it to him. So, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mara has a question.
Yes, she has a question.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So she says, "I would love to learn about a set of rules or conditions to hold a man to before becoming his woman, especially if he's in a legal marriage. And it seems you may end up a closet mistress."
All right, Sister Jimar. So you go to any man who is wise. This is a good test for the man. Women need to test us too. And I don't mean in like a manipulative fashion, but just they need to know what the plan is. And if this woman never asks you what the plan is, you got a problem. Okay. And ladies, always ask the man, what is the plan? How are you going to deal with me, considering in this instance that Sister Jimar brings up? How are you going to deal with me, considering that, you know, you're already married to, say, Tess. You're already married. You've been married to her for 10 years. Because I don't want to just be a side chick with you. I mean, I know I might be the junior wife, but what am I supposed to? How is this going to look, sis? And to other women watching this, if that man cannot sit down with you and just run his mouth for the next 5-6 hours, that means that man don't have a plan. He don't have a plan. See, when women come to me, I wear them out with my answer. They're like, dang, man, this is a lot, man. Yo. Like, but the way that I speak about it, every woman has always told me, like, see, you serious. This is for real for you, because you just told me about estate planning. Ain't nobody, I said, because a lot of women have been approached by other polygamous men before, but those men, they didn't have nothing in place. So the sisters who are smart about it, they ask this brother, like, well, what happens if you pass away? Like, you know, we just gonna be out here in the wind? You know, I had a woman ask me that recently. It was another sister. She was a sister. She's Filipino. She asked me that, and she's like 38, I believe. And she asked me, she's like, well, what happens if you pass away? Like, I said, no, I got a plan for that too. You'll be taken care of. Don't worry about it. I already got that in place. It's like, if you do join me before we actually get together, especially before we have sex, you'll I already got that all in my estate plan. You'll be straight. And that's something that will be, you know, certain aspects that will be shared. There's certain things we shouldn't tell our women about estate plan, because even the wealthy will tell you, it's inappropriate to discuss your will and testament with even with your wife. Most of these dudes don't even talk about that with their wife. So there has to be a plan in place, Sister Jimar, and to the other women listening. The man should be able to just rattle off, okay, this is A, this is when this happens. B, this is when this happens. Your schedule will be on these days. Or you will be living in the house with me and my wife. Or you will have the cottage that's at the rear of the property. You will have what do they call it? They call it a pool. I've seen a pool house that was like a mini mansion before. I was like, this ain't no pool house, bro. This is up in a rich neighborhood. You may give her that, or you may have a flat. You may purchase a flat and you and your wife live on the bottom. She lives at the top. See, it's all types of configurations, things like that. Does he expect you to work? If so, if he expects you to work, what job does he want you to do? If he doesn't want you to work, well, am I getting like a salary, or like, am I helping you all around the house, or like exactly what am I doing? Sister, ask him that question. That will tell you everything you need to know. And if you know his associates, you have a right, and you have a right to, with him, of course, not behind his back, because then it is kind of grimy. With him, have a discussion, like have him take you sometime around his people. You know, you have a right to know what kind of people he comes from. You have a right to ask him about his occult background. And when I say occult in this instance, it's not how I normally speak it, where I'm just talking about symbolism. You need to know the spiritual background of his family. If they come from a crew of warlocks and witches, do they practice voodoo? Do they have certain crimes that are in their family lineage that are rampant in each generation? You need to ask questions like that. And if he's willing to speak with you about that, that actually shows you, especially if he's doing it with humility and panache, then that means that man is serious, especially if y'all are cool. You've been knowing this man for years, but you're just not really trying to enter a relationship. It's all about how that man acts upon these things. Because Sister Jimar, now I want to let you know, I've watched your comments across different polygamy videos, and you ask good questions. You have valid concerns that a lot of women have, but are afraid to ask some of the men, because a lot of the men get offended when women are. I'm like, no, she's taking a risk being with you because she don't. Even if she's known you for years, she's entering a different stage with you. She has a right to know that. She has a right to know how she's going to be cared for, and making sure she's not treated like a chick that you just slept with down the street and then you discard her. And I've heard those stories before, and I avoid that altogether. And I always have to assure women. For example, one woman I spoke with that I mentioned before, she said, "Well, whenever I see on the internet about black men, it says that y'all are always abandoning your children, and y'all are just sleeping around with a bunch of girls." And I was like, well, you got some black men who do that, but that's men in general.
Yeah.
Men out here smashing everything. It's not really a race or ethnicity thing. But in your mind as a woman, you have every right to have all of your concerns addressed. All of them.
Yeah.
Any and all concerns, you have a right to have that addressed. Well, how does your wife feel about it? Is it okay if you and your other wives or your wife speak about it? Will I be able to meet them in person? Are we going to go out to eat and have a parlay, or what's the deal? Are you going to be talking with my family? Things like that. I don't like hearing those stories where I've heard probably 2, maybe 3 of these stories where the dude just snapped on a woman. And I'm like, all right, bro, like she's concerned because she don't know if your woman is down. She don't want to get punched in the head because your wife is angry. So anyway, but yeah, I see your other comment too, sis. Yeah, that's true. Emotions are important in this thing, but they should not be the guiding force.
Right.
They're a force, but not a guiding force. So you have to be very militant, even if you're a woman, about who's going to put, which man is going to put his energy inside of you, essentially, and who's going to be responsible for you, because you don't want a man who is like, man, I'm tired of all these women, and he just abandoned ship. He's like, forget all of y'all, man. I'm going to Thailand. It's like, what? Wait a minute. Like, no, man, you got 3 women back home. Like, wait a minute.
Right.
So anyway, hopefully that helps out, sis. And that's all I got for that one.
Yeah, it's good. Great. Well, this is really, man. This is good, man. This is Hondo University here tonight. We had Hondo University, man. We should have been charged of tuition. Right. Start the stream, man.
Well, I appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah,
man.
In
the chat room, thank you for listening.
I mean, sharing the time, sharing the knowledge, man. Yeah. This was truly blessed. Brother Jay, anything you want to say?
Well, he came on and gave us some of that polygynous PhD he was talking about. He came on.
Yeah, indeed.
He came on and taught a class tonight.
Yep, indeed. I don't know if Noah is on. I think Noah dropped off. But yeah, man, definitely. This has been a great stream, and definitely blessed. We thank you, man, for what you're doing, and we just pray that you are blessed and equipped and protected in all that you do moving forward, brother.
Thank you, and likewise, all of you as well. Even those who are in the chat room, I appreciate y'all for taking. I mean, we've been here 4 hours. I appreciate y'all staying on and dropping in. I'm always very, very hyped when people just want to hear me talk. I'm like, man, that's got stuff spinning around in my head,
Well, it's contagious, to have someone that's really passionate, about what it is that they're speaking is contagious, and to the point where it ignites the people to, give me more. They want to listen, they want to hear, so that's a beautiful thing. And and the fact that it rolls off naturally, you didn't have to think about it, is a testament to itself, that, you live this. So it's a beautiful thing, bro. It's a beautiful thing.
Hey, and the subtitle of the Polygamous Papers is Polygamous, an introduction to polygamous culture and its principles, pitfalls, and ethics. Because those pitfalls are there. I mean, you constantly, y'all remember Pitfall Harry on Atari?
Yeah, Pitfall Harry.
You constantly jumping over snakes and insects. You're like, man, it's a constant thing. And I really hope that people, my prayer is that people make an informed decision about engaging, or whether you're a man or a woman joining a polygamous man, whether you're his first woman or his second or third or what have you.
Right.
Just making informed decisions, making careful decisions. When I first started, I guess, dating multiple women, I mean, I was like, man, I got these girls, they like me, man. Okay, I'm cool. It's like, no, you're not cool. Did you think about what's happening 5 years from now?
Yeah.
It's like, look, maybe you should be thinking about that. Especially when you get, by the way, you get the women who do know about polygamy and whose father was a polygamist,
right,
and who had a good experience. If she find you and you talking about polygamy, she gonna be giving you the side eye, like, bro, my dad was on point, man, but you trying to bum it. You trying to be a bum with this. They're gonna call you out, and that's gonna be a very uncomfortable conversation that you have with this woman that you liked, but you gonna lose her because you over here trying to live off EBT cards and WIC. No, no, you're not gonna do that. You're gonna come up with a plan. You're gonna make as much money as you can, because the Torah commands you to leave stuff for your descendants.
Right.
It commands you to do that, which means you have to have some measure of wealth.
That's right.
It's not even an option. And some people think, well, Jesus was meek and lowly, and no. Actually, Esther was actually wealthy. How do you think that he had an entourage traveling with him? Because carpenters were skilled tradesmen. They made good money. And his father, Joseph, was wealthy. See, you got to do the science on all these biblical characters. He was not poor.
Right.
You cannot travel on foot and by horse and by donkey around Judea and Israel, which was 10 times larger than it is now. Israel is now. It was a much larger place. You were not going to be traveling around like that with no money. And you had at least 2 women traveling with you.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
What?
Because
who, according to the records, were possibly his wives.
Right. Yeah.
Marrying them? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, just to travel, you can starve, because if it takes you to about a few weeks to get to one place to another, and you don't have no money in your pocket, you gonna starve.
The second time I traveled internationally to the Philippines, I actually ran out of money, and I said, I was like, they told me on the vlogs that I only needed this amount of money, $1,000. No, you need, especially now, the Philippines, for example, you think, okay, this is up and coming, country. You need to just bring like a couple thousand. No, you need to take about 4 or 5 G's with you just for 30 days. That's comfortable. That's comfortable. And that's apart from what else you got in the bank or in other resources. By the way, I just want to point this out. An Israelite man in 1st century CE would not be rolling around with a bunch of dudes, and most, if not all, those men do not have at least one wife, because nobody would listen. Remember, the requirements for a deacon at that time or a shepherd was you have to have at least one woman. So you think that a man who is, according to Christian tradition, is like the top tier rabbi, and he don't got no woman? Nah. See, so people got to rethink this whole Jesus was single thing. No, he wouldn't. Especially he was, according to the records, he was 30 years old when he began his ministry. He would not have been rolling around with no wife. Nope. He would have had a wife. So even if we say, okay, both Miriams were not his women in the Brit Kadash, or so-called New Testament, we know he had we're just playing it by culture. He had to have a woman. Those other men also, Paul was actually brushing against Hebraic culture by not having a woman. See, because he wanted to travel around and do what he was doing, Rav Shaul. But the disciples, most if not all of them, had to have a wife, because a lot of those men, a lot of disciples, remember, there were different rabbis who were traveling around at that time. That was a very common thing during that era, throughout Israelite culture and in Israelite lands. you had rabbis who traveled with an entourage. You know, they had their disciples, just like the Buddha. Gautama Buddha had his disciples who traveled with him. This is common in different spiritual traditions, right? But those men were also tradesmen. Like you see a couple of references to them, like crafting things. They would have had women. They ain't gonna be what 13 dudes just running around with each other, just around for 3 years with no woman.
No woman.
No, because they could have always circled back around. One man may break off and stuff. Of course, it's not a comprehensive text. The so-called New Testament is not comprehensive about lives. They could have broken off for say 6 months, come back, rejoin them. They could have served, you know, everybody could have traveled each other's towns, stopped. You see your family, you come back. That makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
It's a lot more sense than just 13 dudes, hard-legged dudes just running around and not and don't have no family. That's weird because in Israelite culture, you were expected to have a wife, especially by a grown man's age. You expect to have a wife.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that little tidbit in there. That's very important to understand when we start talking about, you know, marriage and polygamy and patriarchy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of detail. There's definitely a lot of details that are not in the text, and a lot of times we assume, you know, based on our current culture, what it was like. And yeah, you're right. You're right. Right.
Yep. Yeah. So thank you to the sisters. It looks like Sister Deborah chimed in as well.
Yeah, she said, thanks for encouraging us women to ask questions. You just need another 4 hours to answer some more of mine.
Well, anytime, brother Mike, y'all ready, you know?
Yeah. I know she has them. Jim Moore says, I always was intrigued by how much Jesus loved Mary and Martha too. I have heard that possibly Paul's wife refused to be with him because he left the work of the Pharisees.
Sister Jim be studying. Yeah. I read that sister's comments on YouTube. I'm like, that's sister.
Yeah. She's on point.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
yeah, but he actually verbally ascribed to being still a Pharisee well until just before being executed. Yeah, you go towards the end of the book of Acts, near the book of Acts, he talks about being a Pharisee currently during that time. And that was the end of the book is near where he dies, so he gets executed. So
Yeah. And you know, during that time, you know, you step outside that circle a little bit, they get a little tight. You know, you start getting rocks thrown and all types of stuff, executions. Very, very much so.
Social order. That's that social order for sure. But with that said, we don't want to hold the folks up. So we're gonna close this out. I'm gonna ask Brother Jeremy if he'd be so kind to close us out with a word of prayer.
Oh, sure. Heavenly Father, we come to you and just thank you for tonight, just for this blessing and the wisdom and knowledge from Brother Hondo Solomon, and the wisdom and knowledge from Brother Mike as well. You know, this is a very well put together show, and we thank you for shining light on the subject of polygyny, simply because a lot of your sons and a lot of your daughters are lost on this subject. And the gems of wisdom that they dropped tonight, we know it came from you, Father, not only to edify us, but to steer us in the right direction and making sure that we get this right as far as operating in an economy and in your economy as a nation of Israel. In Jesus' name, Father, we thank you and we praise you. Amen and amen.
Amen and amen.
Thank you, brothers. Thank you, sisters, everybody in the chat. Really appreciate y'all. I have fun. You know, I always love, you know, talking about the subject matter. So
thank you. I'm looking at the number of people that are in the chat, and it's like the numbers started dwindling. And just like now, as we just going into prayer, back up, like they said, we want more. Yeah, but this is great, man. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm honored, and again, I'm looking forward to looking at the playback. Yeah, this is definitely good. So Akib, yes. So with that said, we're gonna sign this out. Thank you all again for being along with us and, you know, being a part of this night, making it what it was and what it is going to end off being. Sister Jim Moss says, I mean, shalom, family, blessings to you. So for King and Kingdom, we bid you all shalom.
Yes, sir. For King and Kingdom, shalom, shalom.
Peace.